Welcome back, watchers. This is tonight's watch with Mark,
Luke,
and Tony,
and special guest star Jaime Bennington. What's up, Jamie?
Hi, it's me. It's Jamie. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yep. Every week, one of us chooses a movie, and this week we have special guest star Jamie, who chose the 2000 film Gone in 60 Seconds, and he will give a spoiler-filled synopsis.
You guys won't care about spoilers in this movie.
You don't have to watch it. We will all give our ratings for the movie and then go into the analysis of the film. Thank you for watching with us, and if you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing. And Jamie, you could start with your synopsis.
Okay, so I was going to do the announcer voice from like the old movies, the guy who's like, this is the movie, but it hurts. I can't do it. So I'm just going to read it. From the minds that brought you our greatest national treasure, the National Treasures, to Luke's Warm Pirates of the Caribbean, the Kickstarter film Armageddon, and Hey Tony, do you remember the Titans? Comes the most charming case of false advertising in box office history. The fast-acting, stain-inducing, action classic masterpiece, Gone in 60 Seconds, starring the Nicolas Cage, the sorely underrated comic mastermind Giovanni Ribisi, and the only Tomb Raider I care about, Angelina Jolie. Gone in 60 Seconds follows Memphis Randall Raines as he attempts to save the life of his idiot kid brother from an evil car salesman in an action-adventure that very well may be entirely ad-libbed, is filled to the brim with comedy that's not racist, it was just different back then, and is musically supported by a score designed to remind you that your ears don't really matter and that the early 2000s really did happen. This is... I'm still very mad that they canceled My Name as Earl.
Thank you. You understand.
Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
Immediately.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Beautiful. Let's hear your rating for this amazing movie, James.
Well, I didn't think I would like it a second time, but I love it on the second viewing. And I'm actually watching it with no sound right now.
As you should.
That's what Tony does.
And it's the most fun I've had in a long time. So I'm probably going to give it probably 13 out of 14 Eleanors.
13 out of 14.
Ooh, okay.
I'll convert that whenever we do our combined
Got
to
it.
10.
Yeah.
Luke, let's hear your rating for this film.
Sadly, I did not love it.
That's a very reasonable take.
I did not rate it out of Eleanor's, so no need to have a conversion rate on this. I gave it a 1.7 out of 10.
Tony?
I will say I liked this movie a lot more than Luke did, because I give it 2 bricks out of 10 that are used to steal cars. This movie is not only an old movie that is very dated in its choice of jokes, but a lot of the jokes don't really work. And it's a 2000 movie, and it's very Nicolas Cage. I would feel bad rating this higher than I did Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, that's
Hobbs
that's
and
why
Shaw was much better than this movie.
Oh my god.
Good pick.
All right, this movie is pretty racist. 2.9 out of 10.
That's the only
thing I have to say. The Nicholas,
It's very racist.
It's extremely dated, but also was pretty racist back then.
I feel like it's pretty racist for
back then. Yeah.
It was hard to get through, and I was toying with like a 3.1, 3.2, but not in good conscience could I put this over a 3, so a 2.9 out of 10.
You did like this more than Hobbs and Shaw.
You did.
I would, yeah.
17 minutes shorter.
I did not like it more than B movie though. So that's what's important here.
Respects.
Gone in 60 seconds should have been gone in 60 minutes. Am I right? Because I couldn't stand watching this movie for 2 hours.
This movie, I think, is only like a little over 90 minutes, and it feels like 4 hours.
I think it's 2 hours, isn't it? Like it's an hour.
I think
50.
it's
Is
close
it?
to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Because I was 45 minutes in, I still had an hour and 20 left, and I was mad.
Yeah, I think it took me like 6 times sitting down to actually get through this. I had to keep getting up and doing other things.
Problem with it is there's a lot of scenes that don't add to the main story at all and like
No.
are solved right away.
I'm
and then there's a
sorry.
lot of like slow panning cuts and shots towards like some unimportant thing.
You didn't think giving the dogs laxatives was important because he ate the keys?
That's just some
Wait,
weird plot
guys,
added point that makes
I
no
put
sense.
aside 2 quotes that were my favorite quotes in this entire movie, and I don't know when to share them, so should I do
You
it
can
now?
go ahead now. This
Okay. So the first one is, you would not be a self-indulgent wiener, sir. You would be a connoisseur.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Yes.
Oh my
Beautiful.
goodness.
The second one is, Otto, man, I think your dog ate the keys. Ah, really? He usually goes for the license plates. Are you sure?
so good.
I want to know who was in charge of writing this movie. Because it feels like Nicolas Cage wrote it himself, and the entire time he was dying, he's like, "Oh man, this is hilarious! They're gonna love it."
Oh, good.
There's 2 things. Like I wish they almost went more Nicolas Cage with it.
Yeah.
But there was 2 that really got me. One of them was they said something about stealing like the 47 of the cars. And he's just like, yes, out of nowhere.
Yes, it was
I have
good.
that.
It
I
was
have
good.
that written down.
And what does he say when he picks up his jacket? Because I
I'm
like
a
that.
bad man.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things in the movie is at the end when he's walking through the junkyard and he's about to be killed, and he looks up and he goes, unicorn. And that's it.
Unicorn.
Honestly, from the moment he is introduced to the very end of the movie, it's full on Nicolas Cage, and there's not an ounce of anything else in him.
There's also a line, I'm not sure where it is, but he was like, you're going to sit out there, I eat. And the way he
Oh,
said
that was
"I eat,"
terrible.
Oh
That was
gosh!
Yeah,
You know what?
that was
God.
incredibly racist.
I have
Incredibly.
I have that written down. And we'll get to it when we go through that part of the movie.
So
But
horrible.
let's start at the title screen, even the DVD
Yeah,
title
the
screen. When you
menu.
get to
Oh, the
choose
menu. Yeah,
the
Jamie, you didn't see
DVD
this.
menu.
I didn't get to see this because I watched it on Amazon Prime twice.
It's like needs an epileptic warning. It's just like constant flashing of like cars and this action movie, blah blah, and there's like this yellow filter on the entire thing, and it doesn't stop.
It's like
And
20
it just
seconds.
keeps cutting.
Forever.
It
It's
just
like
keeps cutting,
20
and
to
it goes
30
on forever.
seconds
And
before
then
you can press play.
You start the movie, and then it's the same thing. It's like the same like fast action paced cutting that hurts your eyes, and then we get into like the opening credits where they're just
Whoa,
pan
wait.
over.
Real quick. There was one thing I liked where the production studio had a road in it and it turned into a road that the car was racing on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That was one thing I liked.
Yeah.
This is stupid, but I liked it.
I don't know about you guys, but this felt like a music video to me. And it was like the whole movie was just one long like self-indulgent music
Racist.
video, stylistic music video that just played on all of the tropes
And
I
racing.
that
would
you're not
agree with that.
supposed to play on.
I would agree with that.
And back to Tony, like when we were talking, like
Yeah.
the intro, the movie doesn't start till 3 minutes and 22 seconds in. It's so long.
Yeah.
I had to put on, Tony, did you watch this whole movie on 1.5 speed?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I watched this at 1 speed, and then when you get to certain shots that take way too long, I was like 1.5 speed until it started like talking again.
This intro
Oh.
was 1.5 speed for me.
Did Tony fall asleep during this movie?
Ooh.
I didn't. I did not fall asleep. during this
Wow.
Hey, you are improving.
He was too high strung. He was too like stressed out.
I will say that opening credit scene probably lasts 2 minutes or something, and it's like supposed to be some exposition for like the characters, and it's like, oh, look, these two are brothers, and they're working on cars and stuff, and they're really into cars. But it's all like super dark, weird filters, so you don't really get any of that at all.
We also kind of get that with one picture of them by a car working on it together, and then they show
Yes.
10 of them.
But also, that doesn't mean anything. Like, just because they're working on cars together does not mean they're brothers. And it doesn't mean that they have any kind of bond we have to worry about. It could mean that he's dead. It could mean anything. And I never even noticed either time I was watching the opening credits sequence. That's what I was being shown.
Yeah.
Yes.
I kind of zoned out right at the beginning.
Oh, of course. And it's like movies have to have 2 credits, so that's why a lot of movies now just put both credits at the end.
Yeah.
Or like the first set of credits is like they'll draw something during it and it'll be like some animated thing, and then they'll roll the credits, and then boom, end credit scenes, and then they roll like the super end credits where it's just a black screen with white text, and then they might have another end credit scene after that. But like a lot of movies have like these opening credit scenes, like a lot of older movies, but it just doesn't work out, and it doesn't help in any way that they're trying to like deliver some kind of story through it.
It makes you bored before the movie even starts.
Very
I
true.
mean, that's not a tool. That's a damn brick.
I like that part.
I think
That's
this
a
is
pro.
where the car transition comes in. There's like
Yeah.
a transition
Okay.
after this like whole opening credit scenes to like them driving on the road, or transition from them looking at like a Porsche, and then it's like there into the car dealership. I had car transition as one of my positives, and there's not many positives in this movie. But
Hey.
he sees the car and he's like, wow, I need to steal this for like one of the cars I need. And then he says, I need to get a tool out of the back. And they're just parked in the street.
Yes.
He takes a brick from his
It's a
trunk
pro.
and he breaks like this glass door, and he goes in and steals the Porsche and then drives through a glass window when he could have just broken the glass window in the first place.
But that wouldn't look cool.
It wouldn't look cool, Tony.
Also, if that happened, Tony, if it were logical, which I mean, how could you even bring that up? If it were logical, the guy would also shut the frick up for the entire thing. The entire time he's just saying, I don't like saying this because it sounds racist, but honestly, it is racist.
It is very racist.
He's
yeah.
just saying black things.
Yeah.
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 That's
He's
the
just-
That's all he's
problem.
doing.
It's just
really
a black
bad.
side
With-
character saying the basic black side character things, and it's
Yeah.
all at once, like constantly.
He doesn't take off his
His
glasses
entire
until the
character,
end of
his
the movie.
entire
Yeah.
character is just stereotypical race. And don't even get me into Johnny B once we get into that.
God. Hey,
But
one,
I
one
do-
pro. One pro, real quick.
I have one pro from this too.
It's the actor who plays Kip, Giovanni Ravioli.
Oh, yes.
I really like him in basically everything. I mean, like, I don't think he
Yeah.
was amazing in this, but, like, he was by far the best. So,
He's in
I agree with
Avatar.
that.
he's an Avatar.
He's
Oh.
in
My name is Earl.
My name
right?
is Earl.
That's him. Jamie likes him.
he's in Ted and Ted 2. He's in
He's
I
in
remember
Saving
Sneaky
Private Ryan.
Pete, right? He has his own
Yes.
show.
A Million Ways to Die in the West. He's
Yeah.
good in a lot of other things, but I don't know what he's doing in this movie. I guess you got to start somewhere.
It was 2000. It was 2000. It was before
Sure.
Earl came out, so he had to.
Yeah, he was
I
big.
will say I like the line that Jamie said before is that ain't a tool, that's a brick. I thought that was actually funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Oh god.
But I think the problem with Kip right now, Giovanni Ribisi,
Ravioli.
I think the problem with him in this movie is like through this opening scenes and throughout multiple scenes later, I'm kind of like, this isn't worth it to save this asshole. Like, I don't like
Exactly.
this guy at all.
Dude, he's stupid. He's not in the entire film does he do one smart thing. There's even a scene we'll get to later where he introduces his crew. And
Yes.
Yeah.
they're all like, yeah, like we're here though, so you have to use us.
Yeah, he sucks, so it's like, how can you relate to him and want this plan to work out when it's just like, just kill him and it'd be over. Don't
Yeah.
care.
It's
And
literally his fault anyways.
And then the hero of it is Nicolas Cage, who sucks worse just from his acting alone. Like, not
Also
the
From his
character, but
acting
God.
alone.
Also, Robert Duvall is in this. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
so
funny.
weird. I only know him from Kicking and Screaming, Luke, am I right?
Oh,
You don't
wow,
find it weird
that's a
that
flashback.
Angelina Jolie is in this movie?
Is she? Is she I
in
wouldn't
it?
know.
Wait, guys, real quick, before we go too far, I do want to bring up the 4 awards that this film did win, and I think you will find it very interesting.
Oh no!
Yes, so let's see here. I sent it to you, Mark. So let me pull this baby up real quick. Oh my god, I keep swiping out. Hold on. Swiped out 3 times. Sweaty hands. Okay, so
I know something about that. That's
Luke
okay.
knows all about it.
Oh my god, how many pictures do I send you, Mark? Jesus.
So many.
Okay, all right. It won the Stinker Award for worst screenplay for a film grossing more than $100 million using
Why did it
Hollywood
gross
math.
that much?
That's a
Why
travesty.
did it-
It won another Stinker for most intrusive musical score by Trevor Rabin.
Wow!
And another Stinker, it was just a nominee, but it was worst on-screen hairstyle, Angelina Jolie.
I will say they did her dirty in this movie.
Yeah,
They also
They're so dirty.
It didn't help that they dyed her eyebrows blonde too.
Yes.
It was, 'cause she was also barely in it. She had no motivation other than to be the the typical tropey side love interest. That's the only thing she
Very
did.
tropey love interest where oh, he left me and now he's back and he's coming into my life again. Things changed, love interest. Oh, but I love you again. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Well, guys, let's not forget her name is literally Sway, as in can be swayed by everything.
You're right. I had so much trouble writing down everyone's names. I know, Timothy Olyphant. I just wrote down his name because I know his real name in it.
Oh, he wasn't good in this
Oh,
one
no, he
either.
was.
It's sad.
He was
He was
so
terrible.
embarrassing.
His name was Detective Drycoff. And I'm like, that's a
Drycoff?
horrible name. Drycoff, yeah. Okay, well, back to when he, stole the Porsche, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It cuts to them, and they want a street race, but by, a police officer, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yes.
I was looking at that synopsis on IMDb, and it said the next night they start racing someone else. Did you guys pick up at all that was a
The
different
next night?
That is exactly the same night.
That's not what
very much
IMDb
the
says.
same. Well, IMDb has it wrong. Whoever's writing synopsis
I
over
was
there needs
so
to get
confused.
replaced. I will say that scene when they're racing, it's really funny because there's a lot of scenes shot in this movie where you're looking at the cars driving and it's very easy to tell that they're only going 20 miles per hour, but then they have to cut to inside the car and they're making it look super fast and stuff, but then it cuts out of the car and they're just driving really slowly.
I'm sorry, how could Nick Cage jump all of those cars on the bridge if he was only going 20
Wait,
miles
guys,
an hour?
we're out of
That
sync
is
here.
End in the movie. That is at the end of
That
the
is,
movie.
how dare you? That's a crime you just committed.
I'm sorry.
So one of my favorite things is that when we cut away from the Porsche chase, when they blatantly get the attention of the cops for the sake of just a pissing contest, to see who's cooler, they literally drag the cops back to the lair. And
Yes.
when we cut to the lair, there's a guy just describing how he does kinky masturbation.
I didn't
That
catch that
was-
at all. Was I sleeping?
Whoa.
Yeah,
I
did
was
you get
sleeping
that?
as well. I was
Yeah,
sleeping
The
as well.
Stranger. It's called.
Yeah, it's called The
Stranger,
Stranger.
where
He
he,
sit-
sits on his hand until it goes numb, and then he.
Oh,
rubs
he
one out.
did.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
that's okay.
I forgot. I blocked that out of my memory. Apparently,
It's horrible.
God, that's how we start the movie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The filled character.
Also, that joke has been told a million times. I guess it's 2000, so maybe it's new, but I'd highly doubt it. And it's
Well,
just
it's it's like a precursor to the hypersexualization of literally every single
Ooh,
element of the
true.
movie.
Very
So
true.
they're
he's
trying
just
to
like,
really-
Even to
They-
him with his car.
I mean, just
Yeah.
think about the scene where Angelina Jolie and Nick Cage are getting it on. Right?
Yes.
Well,
He's
we'll
literally
get to
just
that,
naming
which is
car parts. We'll
really
get there.
weird.
We'll get there. But the movie's so overtly sexual from the get go.
It's really trying to drag in teenage boys into the
Yeah.
audience of it.
in a worse way than Fast and Furious, where it's
Oh, in a much worse way.
Much
yeah,
worse
it's
somehow.
horrible.
That's something I wanted to mention too. Is I don't think we would have Fast and Furious if it wasn't for this movie. They have the exact same dinner scene at the end, and this was the year before Fast and Furious. Like, I feel like Fast and Furious was just taking off of this, and then
They
they
can't.
eat
They
at-
couldn't. They could not.
Think about it, Tony. Think about
No,
it. They use
I
the same
highly doubt
end
it.
scene where they're all eating dinner together.
But that's like kind of tropey already. I don't
Yeah, I
think Fast and
guess,
Furious
I guess.
invented anything when it came out.
Well, did you guys know that this was a remake of
I
the
did.
film?
I was going
Yes,
to bring that
yes.
up. I was just thinking about that.
And it has the same rating on IMDb, so it's probably
Well,
just as bad.
So let's look real quick before
What's
we go
lower?
on to the next thing. What this remake actually is, or what the original film actually is. It's called Gone in 60 Seconds. It's an
That's-
hour 45.
that's the same-
it's
that's
the
the same
same title. But here's the IMDb plot. When a South American drug lord pays Pace to steal 48 cars for him, not 50, all but one is in the bag. Thereby, the police precipitate in a just desperate car chase against Pace and his Eleanor across Southern California. It's the worst plot, like just the worst paragraph I've ever read. But it's also the plot to the movie, but like instead of 50 cars, it's 48. That's it. That's all
Yeah,
it
they
is.
had to one up the original.
Two up.
One up.
Two up.
I was also confused by the amount of cars in this movie because they said
too.
50, but then like when they first brought the Porsche back and there's like the black light, they were like 13 down, 37 to go. So they were already hired to do 50. So were they just getting the other 37, or did he hire them to get 50 other cars?
I think he hired them to get. Well, no, he hired them to get 50. They got 13, but those 13 got impounded, so they're starting from zero again.
Okay, I was kind of confused by that because I didn't feel like they explained that super well. I mean,
Well,
They
they
steal
did.
3 of the Mercedes back. The 3 of the impounded cars back from the impounds.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Raymond Calitri. We're meeting the big bad guy, right? And everybody in the movie is like, yes, this guy sucks. And then they get there, and it's Nick Cage, and they're having like a testosterone match where he's like, well, I don't see the problem. And then Calitri is just like, well, furniture's is children, and do I look like an asshole? And then Nick Cage
I
is like,
have the quote right
yes.
here.
Oh, perfect.
He says, "Am I an asshole? Do I look like an asshole?" And then Nicolas Cage, throughout the entire movie, this is just how he delivers it. Yeah. Like, he always delivers things in like such a monotone way where it seems like he's not even talking to another human being. Like there's another actor there with him and they're talking to him and then he just delivers the line as if he's talking to a wall.
Yeah. Yes. It's great.
I read that the actor who played Calitri too has publicly said that his performance is ass in this movie because he knew it was going to be an ass movie, so he didn't even try. Because apparently
That makes
people on
me
the
happy.
street will be like, "You're from Gone in 60 Seconds. You sucked in that movie," and he's like, "I know." That's apparently what he said. He apparently knew during filming how fucking horrible this. Probably once they hired Nick Cage, honestly.
I will say he does say a line that's just kind of thrown in here to be like, oh, he hates America. And he like overtly says he hates America later on. But it's baseball is boring. And you know what I wrote in my notes? I said he got that right.
I knew you would say that.
There we
Yes.
go.
Ooh,
Vernon-
slam
I knew you would say
dunk.
that.
Vernon Markin.
They made
Luke right now.
it made him a sympathetic character to you, Tony.
Sympathetic to Tony.
He also
We're
he
introduced
has
with
my.
that,
Oh, go ahead.
and then he just later straight on says, I hate this country.
Yeah.
He delivers my favorite line, but that's at the end, so I won't get to it yet.
So I realize that we haven't actually stuck to the plot, so I'll just
it's okay.
recap. Well, I'll just recap what happened. Memphis Reigns left professional car thievery because he grew a big heart and decided it wasn't for the money, it was for the cars. And since people were dying and since he was making a lot of bad decisions, he quit the game while he was ahead.
The game.
And then he ruined his relationship with his brother by
With
apparently
everyone.
never speaking to him again.
don't
And then,
understand
right, exactly. And then his brother becomes a delinquent who just makes all the dumbest decisions because he's so bereft at the fact that his brother just suddenly vanished from his life and goes and steals this Porsche, gets himself into a bad deal with this Calitri boy, and then fails. He fails miserably. He doesn't even like mess it up. He loses 13 cars to the police, and then he's captured. He's put in a car crusher, and then his brother is dragged out of retirement to save him, and he has the balls to tell his brother that he thinks he's only doing it so he could steal the money.
And by the way, the deal is get me 50 cars in 4 days, and I'll pay you $200,000.
And I will kill your brother.
$200,000 is not a lot of money in the first place. To be stealing 50 cars, like 50 top-end, high-end, expensive cars. Like, you would just make more money selling those cars. But, like, beyond that, they're going to have to split $200,000 like 10 ways later on.
I don't even know why they introduced money, because he could have just said, do it for Kip's life. And it's
Well,
that simple.
well, and then on top of that, Kalitri's like, well, the reason this is such a big deal is because I promised I would give cars, and if I don't give cars, then the person I'm selling to will never come back. So it's
embarrassing for him or something.
Yeah, he's like, am I? That would make me an asshole. Do I look like an asshole?
Yeah.
And then Nick Cage is like,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, actually, yes, you do. And then he decides to take it because Kalitri takes him out to the car crusher where Nick Cage engages in fisticuffs with dudes with guns, loses, and then watches his brother be crushed to death almost.
You know what
And
I
then
like
he's like-
about this scene?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is Kip is in the car and is getting crushed, and he like looks out the window and he's like, "Who's that?" And then Nicolas Cage is like, "Memphis," and then he says, "Oh shit!" Like, but like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be like, "Oh shit, my big brother's here to save me," but he says it in a way like, "Oh shit, Nicolas Cage is in this movie." He's like, "Oh shit, it's Nick Cage."
This is also just the most insane junkyard I've ever seen. There's
It's
like,
got like
Yeah.
fire shooting out of
yeah, they're like
smokestacks
welding
and, like,
everything all the time, and there's sparks
Sparks
everywhere.
are flying all the time. Anytime they show this construction site, sparks are always flying. Something's always dangerous. Is
right
going
above
on.
their heads too.
This is
Yeah,
also
no.
where a part.
Also, go ahead. I'm sorry, Tony.
This is also a part I like where Nicolas Cage is a really 0 to 100 kind of actor, because I don't
Yeah,
know,
he
he's like
is.
bad at acting or something, but he's like mostly monotone. And then when he gets into a scene, he just goes like super top of the line. So like their car crusher is like coming down on Kip, and then he's like, "Shut it down!"
He just screams it over and over again.
screams it in the
He also
most
took-
dumb way ever.
He also took way too long to decide to save his brother and do the job. Like, wouldn't you just be like, yeah, do it? But, like, he waited so long after Kip was in the middle of getting crushed, essentially, for him to actually decide to take the job.
Well, the character that Nick Cage plays, Memphis Randall Raines, is so he just
Randall.
literally doesn't give a like. He's sitting there the whole time like this is a burden. Like that's
I
his
can't
character
tell,
is like.
but I can't
this
tell
is
from
so-
his acting if it's a burden or if he actually wants to come back, because later in the movie he's like, oh man, this is better than sex or whatever. But then, like, so does he want to do this or does he hate it? I don't know.
Oh god.
I don't know either because it seems like he kind of revels in it at the end, but in this part of the film, he's like, "Oh my god, my brother's such
like-
an idiot!"
it's
But
like-
he doesn't even like
Yeah.
take accountability for the fact that like he left his brother in a life of crime that he helped get his brother into,
Right.
and then was like, "You're such an idiot. You made bad choices." And it's like, dude, where did? But like, what about your separation from car thievery? Made you not talk or look at your brother ever again?
Also, if he did all those jobs, wouldn't he be rich enough to not work at the little like go-kart place?
No, but he loves it because he likes working with
loves
kids,
it.
which is like why his brother's so upset, right? He's like, "Oh, my big brother left me, but he went to go teach kids how to race go-karts in like Wyoming."
Well,
or
then why
though
didn't
he's
he
the
just help
biggest-
raise his little brother then?
I don't know.
Biggest asshole to those kids too, though. He's the biggest asshole. There's this little kid on a go-kart, and he like gets flipped around, and he's faced the wrong way, and then he walks up to this like 4-year-old kid, and he goes, "I don't think, like, he's like, that's not driving. I don't think you know what driving is, or like something like that.
No,
Like,
yeah. He's like, that's not driving. Shave a second off your lap, and he like flips him around, and he's like, and then Atlee comes up, and he's like, Atlee, you know I quit, right? And he's like, why are you here? And then Atlee's like, geez, what do you pay your pit stop crew with? Gummy bears?
Gummy bears and Oreos.
Yeah.
And Oreos?
I will say this was going to be in my nitpicks.
Yeah.
But since we're on the scene anyways,
Yeah.
Atlee says that they're gonna come for Kip like stains on a mattress. What does
Ew.
that even mean? I don't even know what that
I
means.
heard that this time, and I still don't know what that means.
Stains on a mattress.
I imagine he's alluding to some hypersexualized graphic.
Oh, he
Some-
has to. Yeah.
Coming stains on mattresses, but I don't
Which-
know how that
which
would
is-
even make sense.
Which is why my description of the film, my synopsis, includes stain-inducing.
Yes.
Ooh,
yes.
yeah, good. Can we talk about when Kip was offended that Memphis hated the food that he spilled the entire salt thing in?
Yeah.
Shouldn't he know it's going to taste like shit?
No,
once he's
okay,
just-
so this led to the best scene in the movie, which is where they go back to Kip's home, which is a dumpster fire. So apparently, because you're a criminal, you literally can't clean your house or even pick up every once in a while. And Memphis goes, "Hey, what are you cooking?" And he goes, "I don't know." And then he puts the food in front of him, and he goes, "Wow, what's in this?" And he goes, "I don't know." And then he takes a bite, and he chokes, and he goes, "This is delicious."
I love
then it-
Nicolas Cage's gagging during that scene. It was so hilarious. 'Cause it's such bad
And then-
acting, and he's going overboard with it.
But then Ribisi goes over to the corner. Sorry, Kip goes over to the corner, and he's like, "I have all this. I have everything under control." And then, almost
Fire.
like comically, the fire in the pan just lights up, and he just stands there and he goes, and then Nick Cage gets up, grabs a box of like baking powder, and just dumps it in. Like it's like, of course, he's the big brother. He's
Yeah,
doing all of this.
This is
What
how
a
they.
convenient fire.
They're also. This is how they're deciding to show he's more mature and older and smarter than his younger brother is baking soda, and that's it.
Yes,
And that's like supposed to be like the metaphor of him not having everything under control, and it literally happens right after he says it. Like that's like this movie's version of a joke.
No, well, so here's my theory, right? And this is why I said it was the biggest and most charming false advertising that you could ever run across, because it has Angelina Jolie, Giovanni Ribisi, Will Patton, Robert Duvall, or Nick Cage. I already said Angelina Jolie, didn't I? I said something. Anyways, if I didn't, I said all those names, which would imply this movie is going to be really dope. Well, it's not. And all of these people do dumb things, and the people you expect to be out front are not out front. And I realized suddenly Jerry Bruckheimer is the biggest dork in the world. Jerry Bruckheimer, he's the one who made the producer who made the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, who made the
National Treasure?
National Treasures.
So good.
He is literally J.J. Abrams if J.J. Abrams were a lot older and a lot dumber. And here's the thing. He tricked everybody, and he made a Mel Brooks styled, fast-paced action comedy that is totally wrapped up in all of its lies. So everybody goes in thinking this is going to be a racing movie, a heist movie. It's going to be a Nick Cage movie, and Angelina Jolie's going to be in it. It's going to be the best time of my life. I'm just going to have fun. And you have the worst time of your life because you don't even know that you're watching something like
film?
Blazing Saddles or whatever that fucking movie is, but you are. Because they're all aware that they're in a bad movie, and they're all making fun of it while they're in it.
I think Nick Cage thought it was a good movie because he seems like he's trying.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage seems like that in every movie he's in.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think he
but
goes into the movie thinking, I'm going to make this movie great.
I'm gonna win my second Oscar in this one, right? Here.
this is going to be my third Ghost Rider. Well, okay, so I agree with you almost, but I think watching it a second time, it became clearer to me because literally everything is comedy. When the pan lights up on fire, it is on the nose. When they're like, hey, why are all the cars girl names? He's like, because it's code. And it's like, that's a joke. And then when you go to like, say, the wiener comment, like, you would not be a self-indulgent wiener. You'd be a connoisseur. It's like, you have to be joking. Like, you're not. I mean, with the kids, he's like teaching these kids go-karting, and he's like, driving's an art. Speed is a byproduct. Go fast. You are the car. Let's drive. And you're like, this is not real. This isn't real. This is not real.
I can't, like, so they just straight up have bad jokes in this where they don't like hit on any level, but they also have stuff like that where it's almost disguised that if they were trying to be funny, they weren't, and it's like the director didn't understand it was a joke in the script.
Yes.
And so he's confused by it too.
But the joke is also that the director is also one of the writers.
Is he?
I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong. Let me take a look, because I'm pretty sure. No, it's not. It's Scott Rosenberg. But also, wait, guys, do you guys know who's on this that you guys didn't know?
Who
was on this?
Tell us.
H.B. Halicki. Do you guys know who that is?
Oh, but he was the writer for the original one. That's why. Too.
Do you know who he looks like?
Who?
He looks like Talladega Nights, dude.
Yes, he does.
The
The
dad.
mustache.
Yes. I literally thought it was the dad from Talladega Nights, and I got so excited, and it's not.
No. It would have made sense. Oh, God.
Okay, so we're in the story now, and they're in the kitchen having this horrible conversation, and then he finds out that his stupid idiot brother, who literally can't even turn on his cell phone by himself, if they have cell phones at this point in time, I don't really know.
2000.
Maybe. I had a Firefly, I think. He decides to go talk to his mother because he finds out that his shithead little brother hasn't told his mom anything.
Yes.
At all.
I love the Memphis to his mom.
Scene?
Yeah, when Memphis talks to his mom, he's like, like a firecracker, like your son.
Like your son.
I don't know what that's supposed to be.
Fire, I don't get it.
He's like, because she's like, oh, there's a guy looking for you. And then he's like, who? What does he look like? And then this is where Nicolas Cage says, like a firecracker, like your son. And I was like, oh, my son.
But also, who asks that question? Like, hey, somebody's here to see you. Oh, yeah? Well, what does he look like?
That's a shady family right there. The entire family is shady.
She could just turn around and see for herself, though.
You know, she's also very welcoming for a mother that made her son leave town.
Yeah, I know.
No, she sits down with him and she goes, so why are you even here? And he's like, well, you know, Kip's kind of gonna die, so I gotta do something that I promised I would never do. And she's like, do it.
I like this line where she's like, how deep in is he? And then Nicolas Cage replies, also in the most monotone way, deep.
Deep.
He's so deep right now, guys.
And the entire time, it doesn't seem like she even cares about the entire situation at all. She's like handling everything really well, and she's just like, yeah, go save him, whatever, do whatever you want.
It's an inherent vice, right? It's like, it's the rule of inherent vice. It's like, it's insurance on things that have breakability because they're going to be broken in transit. And it's like, it's just like accepting the things that come with the lifestyle. So she's just like, well, I knew my kids would be fuck up, so I'm just going to have to just let it go.
But she sent one away forever. She sent one away forever. So one wouldn't do it. And then since he is, she's like, okay, you know what? It's fine.
Which is really funny because like there are cops literally in the diner who are just waiting. They just sit there all day and just wait for one of the brothers to show up.
Yeah, and then they see him and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna call because we know exactly who that guy is. And then they call Detective Drycoff and Castlebeck.
We kind of passed over them, but Drycoff, Timothy, I don't know how to say his last name.
Bad.
He was really bad.
Oliphant,
Dude,
Oliphant he's such a good actor and he's so cool as like a person.
You wouldn't know from this movie.
No, this movie could have killed his career.
I'm surprised he still had one.
the other detective, Delroy Lindo, was actually pretty good. I thought he
Yeah,
did
he was
Yes.
pretty
he
good.
was
in
actually
this.
pretty good.
I like how they treat Memphis like a serial killer. Like he came back and they're like, "Oh, we have to stop him from stealing these cars."
Well, dude,
And
he's
that's
so
like his life's
dramatic.
work. Yeah.
Every time the main detective Castlebeck is talking, it's like just so dramatic and deadpan, and everything's like the end of the world. And it's either like crazy shadows on his face, or it's like, and he's in the dark, or it's like some bright light on his face, and he's just like, "I'm gonna get you, asshole," and you're like, "What the fuck? What are you getting?" Like
Yeah,
he
I
literally
don't
came
understand.
to. Like when he came out and he's like, I'm only in town because of a family emergency, and that's literally true. He was like, if you ever fart in this district again, I'll send you away for
Yes.
so long, you'll
Yes.
be dead by the time you get out.
I don't understand it too, because throughout the entire movie, or like in this beginning sequence, it's like very laid out that he's gonna, like, he let him get away before or something, or he regrets not getting him before, and
Yeah.
now that he's back in town, he's gonna be all over him. But like the way he goes about trying to get him seems so dumb. Like
Well,
just
he
lets
breaks
him
every law, every single
do
law.
all these things. He like breaks all the laws, but then also just lets him do like everything.
Everything.
because he's waiting for him to steal this one car.
Yeah.
Well, dude, and by the time we get to the third act, when like the big chase scene is happening and all these things are falling out, that cop literally breaks every single rule in the book. Everything he does is illegal, and also
Yes.
it endangers every person
Yes.
in the city. Let's not forget a 30-foot long propane tank exploded and flew around like a
That was
deflating balloon
insane.
across an
It
entire
did.
construction site, and he literally did not care.
That tank literally took out 3 cop cars.
I
Three.
know.
And
It
one of them,
literally
he was
took
just
out
like,
3.
and one of them, he pulled somebody out, and he was like, "Hey, are you good? Cool, awesome, okay, bye. Who gives a shit?" Like he had to stop just to let the guy know he didn't care about him.
They had to be thinking about like the easiest way to get 3 of the cop carriers like out of there. They're
They
like,
just
all
were
right,
trying to
all
destroy
3
cop
of them
cars.
are going to
Yeah.
get destroyed
Propane
by this
tank.
one propane tank.
But
that
it's also
flies.
not all at once. It's not all at once,
No.
because the propane tank flies and it zooms 50 feet through the air before it hits the first one. It hits the first one, knocks it out, and then it's flying around on the floor and hits another cop car, takes it out, and then it continues flying until it takes out a third cop car.
Okay, hold on. We need to talk about that, but also we need to talk about Sway, because at this point in the story, he has no team. He has 3 days to boost 50 cars, 13 of which are already impounded by the police. He's already
Yeah, he
being
really
tailed.
wasted his first day, I tell you that.
Really wasted it. And he literally showed up to a mentor of his, was like, "Hey, I need help stealing things." And he's like, "But I see you changed your life, and I don't want to ruin your life, so I'm not going to do that." And he's like, "Well, how many people are on your team?" And he's like, "1." But I'll leave. It's fine. Don't worry about me. Like the guy wasn't supposed to change his mind.
There's also I don't know if we passed over or if it's right after that, where the most racist part of this movie happens with a bad
Yeah.
Asian
Oh,
woman driver,
gosh.
and then the black guy who is with them says that he can't swim, but he wouldn't jump in a pool. So there's double racism going
Double.
on in with both characters in this one scene.
And then they pull over, and he tells the Asian lady that she can't
Could take it
negotiate turns. She speeds too fast. She can't even use her turn signal. She's stupid. She should never be on the road. Literally just harping as many times as possible on the Asian stereotype of bad driving and illiteracy. And
Yeah,
throughout the
and then-
entire movie, she returns as an illiterate.
She does.
And
Yeah.
then he gets a call from Nicolas Cage, and then he gets out of the car, and then he says, "Go ahead and take it a few times around the block." What? That's just going against everything that he just said, that he
Yes.
would let her
Yes.
drive alone.
Yes.
And
That-
she just started crying, and then she comes back later and is crying, and it's like, this is horrible.
Well, dude,
It's
no, okay, so
a
on the
horrible
second...
reoccurring joke.
On the second watch, guys, you can watch, like, if you watch that whole scene again where she's driving and they pull over and she's crying, she's faking it. like legitimately faking it.
Yes.
She's just crying whenever
Right.
whenever he looks at her, which is,
Yes.
I don't know, also very offensive.
Very.
As if women are just out to get attention, or if it's like an Asian thing where they pretend to be stupid so that they can get things that they don't necessarily have access to,
don't
or
even
whatever. I don't know what the point of that is, but it's literally like you could see her stop crying, and then when he looks at her, she goes, and starts whining again. It's so weird, and it's so out of place, and
I
it's
think
so
this-
gross.
Opens up discussion for racist jokes in old movies. Do you give them a pass?
No.
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 That's what the side I'm on, right? So say you have a 1950s movie and it's really racist, and people say you can't judge it because it's just the time. But I'm not living in that
racist.
time. It's
But-
2021. If I watch it now, I'm gonna comment on it and how it affects me now. I'm not gonna give it a pass.
Well,
Well,
it shouldn't
look,
have had
I mean,
a pass back then either.
shouldn't have
so.
even- Yeah.
Exactly. I ironically and sarcastically said it was just different then.
Oh yeah, that was totally sarcastic because like
Because it's like not, it's still not fine. I mean, it's not
No.
okay, and there's no way it can be okay, because the idea is that like it would be fine because they were low-brained enough to make a movie out of it, and so it's okay because their intelligence was so low that they could be given a pass. But let's not forget this also went through an entire regimen of producers, studio execs, and
Movies
multiple
have
edits.
too many eyes on them. Movies have too many eyes on them to allow things like that to just go through.
This was made in
Exactly.
2000. It's not like it's an old movie.
I mean, like, well, 21 years now, but not like 1950s, you know?
Yeah.
And you also have the actors who have to be in this incredibly racist scene, who are both saying racist
Very
things
true.
about their race, and it's like, how
don't
did this
get
get
it.
approved? Like, how
Yeah.
did,
And it gets worse later on. Okay, we
Wait,
get him.
can I say one last thing on that? Because I'm thinking
Yeah.
about the director, right? And their name is Dominic Senna. And he is, let's see, I'm looking at him right now. I'm trying to see if they're trying to pull I'm whatever ethnicity, so I'm allowed to make racist jokes because I'm fine kind of
Trying
thing.
to pull like
I
I'm
see.
also a minority. It's okay, even
Right,
though
like-
it's not.
But there's also racism
Right.
toward African American people and Asian people in this scene, so
Yes, in this scene alone, it was a double whammy of racism.
double-
and it was way deep too, so it's like
Yeah.
I don't know if they're trying to use that as a scapegoat, like I'm a say for example, well, I'm Puerto Rican, so I can say whatever I want about black people because I'm Puerto Rican, and it's like that's
doesn't make
not
any
that's
sense.
not an excuse, you know.
And it's also the most stereotypical joke that's been made a million times, even before this movie came out. It's been made a million times, and I don't understand how it's even funny at that point.
I looked up that the director was born in Ohio of Italian American heritage. So,
Oh, okay, yeah. So they don't
No
care.
passes.
Have you seen
No-
Jersey
no
Shore?
passes.
Nobody
No
cares. Okay, so
all right,
where
we
are we
move
going
on.
Wait,
next?
another thing.
Oh yeah.
Jamie, you said
Yeah.
that it seemed like a music video.
Yeah.
Well, the director won a Grammy for Best Music Video for
No way.
that makes so much sense.
in the 90s, so
Oh, well, that probably is also extremely racist and exploitative.
Probably.
so there you go.
That's really fun.
Who is the
So
one
those
big
characters-
director now who like did a whole bunch of music videos, but now is like super big? I'll figure it out while you continue, Tony. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
movie, so this is a part, they're talking to Donnie, who is the driving assistant, right? And they're going through a list of names to see who will help him in the crew. And we get to like them in a montage of just calling a bunch of people and like, oh, no, this
gosh.
guy left. Oh, this guy's not alive anymore. And they get to a scene where a woman's just having sex, and like Nicolas Cage is like, oh, I guess you're busy. Oh, I guess you're really
Who answered
busy.
the phone?
And it's
Yeah, I
just
know.
like her having sex, and it's super loud, and it's just constant moaning. And apparently, it's so loud through the phone that on the other side of the room, Otto, the dog, and the old guy, what is his name? Or is
Robert
Otto the
Duvall.
old guy? Yeah, Robert Duvall. Otto and his dog are like, oh, look at that. It's funny. They're having sex over the phone. And it's like, that is another like over-sexualization scene of the film.
Well,
And
and
you
then
get-
there's also the double joke of it being a car movie and there being a car fanatic and his name being Otto.
Yes.
just bad. Also,
which is
like it.
ridiculous.
And they
real
get-
quick. I found the director. I was just thinking it was David Fincher because we did Social Network, and I
Yeah,
saw
he did
that
a
he
David
did a ton of
Fincher's
music
dope.
videos.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you watch Baby Driver, you really get that. And I feel like, what was David Fincher? No, that's Edgar
no,
Wright.
Edgar Wright. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Edgar Wright.
Which one was David Fincher?
He
was
does like
so-
Fight Club and Mindhunter.
Oh
and
no,
Social
okay,
Network.
never mind. Yes,
Social
okay,
Network.
Never mind.
Maybe that's why the music's so loud in the background scenes.
Yeah.
Ooh, 'cause he loves the music. I was gonna say Baby Driver seemed like a music video,
Except
to,
it's
like-
just Edgar Wright being a baller.
but it's just
Yeah.
Edgar Wright being over the top Edgar Wright, in my opinion. But we'll save that.
Oh,
if
we'll
we
save
ever
that
do
for
That's a different. Yeah.
We get him down to two names. One is Sphinx. He's like a quote unquote mute who doesn't talk, and he's a mortician, and he's a badass. He's my favorite character in this movie.
He put a sandwich on a dead body. A half-eaten
put a
sandwich on a
sandwich-
dead
He
body.
did.
He's
Body.
also the most detrimental stereotype of a Russian man ever.
Yes.
He's
But
he's
he
the
isn't.
cold-hearted. Oh, what? Oh, he isn't.
Well,
He
at
isn't.
the end, they
At the end,
reveal
it's
that
revealed
he isn't.
That he is not Russian.
They're trying to undo their racism.
The other name is Sway, which is Angelina Jolie's character.
Yes.
And she's working at some bar, and she turns him down because she's changed. She doesn't.
No. She works at an auto body shop and has a second
And
job
a
at a
bar.
bar.
And a second job at a bar. And she
Yeah.
turns him down because she's gone with that life. She doesn't want it anymore. And so Nicolas Cage leaves the bar without her help. And this is where Johnny B is introduced. And Johnny B
Oh,
is
no.
some competitive car stealer who feels like Kalitri should have went to him to steal the 50 cars because he wants the $200,000. And he is the most stereotypical, like, quote-unquote gangster character who just acts so dumb throughout this entire
Yeah.
movie.
He's terrible.
Why is he even in it?
They just had to make another stereotype against African American people.
Is he
Like,
the one with
everything-
the headband and the
Yes,
sweatsuit
with
all
the
the time?
bandana.
Okay, yeah. No, he's like the worst character, and he's also very offensive, even to a white
Very
man
much.
like myself.
And his inclusion in this movie does nothing for the story of the movie. Absolutely
He's
nothing.
comedic
You can
relief.
Cut out all the scenes
Is he?
he's in, and it's fine.
He's supposed to be.
Okay.
It's like when they're in the dealership and he's like doing the wires or whatever, and Sphinx interferes, and he's like, "Well, I told you this is my job. I said fucking kill you or whatever." And then he pulls out a
Yeah.
knife. He's like, "Oh my god, man, why you take things so personally? You do whatever you want." But he says it with
Uh-huh.
the accent, and he says it with the intonation and the context of like being like a gangster or like a ghetto black man, which is so weird because the other black man is that stereotypical "I don't have feelings, everything bounces off of me"
Yes.
kind of thing,
It's bad.
which is like also very damaging.
Also very
This
good.
movie's terrible with it.
So
terrible.
he tries to beat up Memphis Reigns, and Nicolas Cage doesn't look like he can fight for like anything
at all.
at all, and he still takes on a couple of them. But then he gets pinned against a car, and then here comes Sphinx, who saved the day. He blows up Johnny B's car,
Which didn't need
which
to happen.
causes a chain explosion of like three
Yeah.
other cars, which also shouldn't happen because, like, in that case, the car would just like light on fire and it wouldn't really explode. And I'm sure Mark has a lot of experience with that,
Oh, you're gonna bring up my exploding truck, aren't you?
but it didn't
I
explode.
remember that. That was so long ago.
It didn't explode. It just lit on fire and it burned to the ground, but it never exploded.
No,
Because that's not really what cars do. And then he beats up everyone and frees Nicolas Cage. And they all go back to autos, and he has his crew. And Kip comes in and brings in his young crew. And
Wait,
it's
I just
Kip-
wanted to clarify for you. You said he beats up everyone. And I just want to clarify, he beats up everyone. Like, hand-to-hand combat. Like, he walks up, just one punch knockout. And it's like, the whole movie, dude, I was like, okay, so Memphis thinks he's all tough. He goes and he, goes to save his brother, and then he, like, does a weird disarming move. He takes the pistol back, and then they kick his ass. And then later he tries to fist fight somebody else, and I'm like, so like a kick-ass martial artist, tactical military genius, and you never asked for training, and yet you suffer yourself to the point where you allow yourself to be put in situations where you get your ass kicked every time.
Mhm.
So you're
Yes.
wanting to get hurt? Is that what's going on? Is that you're willing to be crushed every time? You just like are you just like addicted to the pain? It's just weird to me.
It is Nicolas Cage, though. We can't put anything past him.
We can't put anything past him.
And Tony, when you're talking about the part where, or like, we were getting to the part with all the young crew showing
Yes.
up. So there's a scene before it where Memphis and Kip are like talking at their house, and they have like a heart to heart, right? But then Kip shows up like the next scene and introduces his crew. And
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage freaks out on him.
Freaks
but
out
we
on him.
just had a heart to heart moment between them, and then he just starts screaming at him.
Let's talk about the heart to heart moment. So they're back at the house. They're back at the dumpster fire, and his brother's like, "Hey man, it's cool that you wanted to be like better and all, but like I don't see why I wasn't a part of that picture, and I don't understand why you like left me hanging. Like, yeah, I understand that like I'm not the brightest, and I understand like I suck." But I also understand, like, you're the one who taught me that, and, like, I'm supposed to trust you, and, like, you weren't there. And it's, like, this kind of sentimental moment, and then Nick's like, yeah, well, you know, like, PTSD's a bitch, so I don't really know what I'm supposed to tell you. And then he goes and takes the job.
Honestly, I don't know if Nicolas Cage cares about anything in this movie except for cars. And even, like, he's doing this to save his little brother, but he still doesn't show him any emotion, and he really only shows emotions to cars. And even when he is having, a makeout scene, it's still about cars.
It's about
Yeah, but wait,
Oh my
didn't you
God.
understand that everybody in the movie would rather fuck a car than a person? Sorry, I don't know what the
Promise
language barrier is on this.
No language
Is
barrier.
this okay? Great. Well, this isn't 18 plus show because everybody wants to fuck the cars. Everybody wants to
I
just
have
rough
a
intercourse.
Fun fact that apparently Nicolas Cage actually really, really liked that car, and they would have trouble getting him out of the car to film the next scene.
Yes.
So much so
Yes.
that they had like 3 models, or they had like 5 models of that car, and like they blew like some of them up, right, and ruined them for shots. But one of them went to some other actor or producer or director, I can't remember, but he got like one of those cars because he loved it so much. So him talking sexually about the car was actually probably just they just started filming Nick Cage.
Well, also, guys, I don't know if you know this. He actually trained. He did almost all of the driving himself.
Oh.
He
I
actually
heard that,
trained.
yeah.
He trained at like 3 different schools, and they even trained like Angelina Jolie and even like some of the other
She
actors.
did nothing.
I know, and we haven't even gotten to her riding a motorcycle, but that was embarrassing as well. And he actually drove, like he did this.
Well, there was
movie.
a scene where he's driving and he does like a 180. I can't remember like the specific name for it, but like he does it and the camera's shot in a way so that his face would be in it the entire time. Like, look, Nicolas Cage is actually driving.
Yeah. And I know we're not at the bridge part yet, but my favorite part is when he lands the car and then he goes, okay, so the young crew comes up and Ribisi's like, oh, sorry, Kip, because that's the best fucking name for a character. Kip, the idiot brother, goes, hey, bro, I'm here to help. And then they're like, why do you think you can do this? Like, your career is over because you suck and you ruined everything and you almost got yourself killed and now everybody else is going to be in trouble now. So why do you think you have the right to be here? And he's like, 'cause it's my money.
Yeah, and then it's
but now it's
mentioned-
also getting diluted by like 5 other people.
Toby says he can hack the mainframe, which is
Yeah,
something
he
we
does.
say ironically when we don't know anything about computers and hacking. We always say hack the mainframe, and that's what he said.
He also does it at fucking light speed.
Yeah.
And on top of that, when he's doing it, there are actual graphical effects that show like 3D car models and shit, which is not what. That's not what hacking is.
Are you
it's
sure?
not.
Are you sure?
Do you know from firsthand experience?
I also want to add that one of the guys' name is Freb. And the good thing about Freb is that he can order a pizza like no one else can.
Yeah.
And Freb
I-
literally
he goes-
looks at them and he says, hey, people gotta eat, right? Oh my god!
Oh, Freb.
So when the young crew comes in, they're all like, "We're adults, and this is not for kids." And he's like, "Yeah, my crew can do like a lot of cool things." And it sounds like the entire thing is ad-libbed. If you watch it again, you'll see they're laughing at what they're saying. And Rabisi, Kip goes, "Yeah, this is my pal, whatever his face is." And he's like, "He can drive things with wheels. And sometimes he can drive things without wheels." and he says it like that in the movie. And the guy literally goes, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I wasn't-
the young crew. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I totally thought Freb was Justin Long for like 3 scenes.
Which one? Who's Justin Long? Is that the guy from College Humor?
He's in Dodgeball.
He was in some of that. He's in Dodgeball. He's in The
no, never
Walrus or
mind.
whatever that movie is.
I'll send you a
I thought he
picture.
looked like a guy from College Humor, but it's no way that he is because he looks like him in 2000.
So they talk in the garage like it's Fast Five when they're all like they all agreed to work together, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And this is where the self-indulgent wieners came in. No, my
They scope out.
notes are
They
disjointed.
go scope out when they talk in the garage and then they go out and scope where all the cars are. They're like, "Oh, here's this car, and then when Nicolas Cage like dresses up and goes to like some high-end dealership, that's when the self-indulgent wieners comes in because he's talking to like some
yes,
car salesman.
Yes.
Yeah, he tells
So,
the guy, he's like,
And
"I
it's
saw
very
this
Nick
Porsche
Cage.
outside of a Starbucks, and I realized," and you think he's going to say something like super cool about money or whatever, and he's like, "The only person who would own that is someone totally self-indulgent with way too much blood money to spend. Those people are idiots," or whatever. And the guy's just like, "What the fuck?" And then he's like, he calls them wieners or whatever. And then he's like, "But if I wanted this really specific car," I think it's Eleanor, he was like, "If I want this really specific car," the dealer goes, "Oh, yes, you would not be a self-indulgent wiener, sir. You would be a connoisseur." And he goes, "Do you have one of those?" And he's like, "Well, not in this warehouse." And he's like, "Well, I'll check the warehouses for you." And he's like, "Good, do that. Check all of them." And it's like totally inconspicuous, duh. And he's like telling them to like give him an inventory of all of their warehouses, and they do it.
And they do it.
There's a really bad line, and I don't know where it comes in, where he said 2 Rogers don't make it right.
That was that one. He's like, "Hey, my name's Roger," and he's like, "Oh, my name's Roger too, but 2 Rogers don't make her right."
What's that even mean?
What does that mean?
It's like 2 wrongs don't make her right,
Yeah, but
but it's so
Rogers.
stupid.
bad.
Oh my!
Was it Kip who doesn't know what a unicorn is?
No,
Yeah,
it's
someone didn't know.
it's the guy who can
think
call
it's-
pizzas. I think it's Freb.
Frab.
He's like the black character who doesn't have any feelings and everything bounces off of him. He was like, "Yeah, that's Eleanor. That he's talking to her. They've been through a lot. He's got to reacquaint himself." And then Kip jumps in and he goes, "Yeah, one time he went off the Long Beach Pier or some shit like that." And then it cuts back and he's like, "That's Memphis's unicorn." And Freb's like, "What's a unicorn?" And then he's like, "A fabled beast."
Yeah.
and Fred has that look on his face like, "Oh my god, I'm so stupid." and that's it. That's the whole scene.
That's
it's
it.
just Nick Cage rubbing the car and whispering to it.
Oh, he wants
and
to
then
do nasty
3
things
people.
to it.
And he also shouldn't
nasty
like.
things.
He like gives like, "Oh man, I'm so stupid." Like he gives off that like look and that vibe, but like, what I assumed was he knows what a unicorn is, but he doesn't know how it applies in this situation. But he's like just straight up pretended like he didn't know what a unicorn was.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't
I'm
know.
unsure.
I'm unsure if he just didn't know what a unicorn was because the writers.
Also, in this scoping out scene is where we get into another problematic joke that's not even funny. Sphinx and Mirror Man, the only black character in the crew, are on top of like a warehouse and they're
Oh.
scoping out Ferraris.
Oh my
And
god.
Mirror
Yeah,
Man says,
yeah.
"Damn, it's cold up here. They keep these Ferraris refrigerated, and you know black people don't like cold weather. We're tropical people, man. When this is over, I'm gonna smoke a joint, watch 2 hours of Roots, and I'm gonna kick your ass."
Just a reminder,
Yikes.
this was written by a
Yikes.
white guy.
Also, a reminder
Excuse
that
me.
there's actually a precursor joke to that one, and it involves Giovanni Ribisi saying that he had worked with some faggoty guy out of another place.
I didn't
And-
know. I thought I heard that wrong.
No,
No,
he said
it's there.
faggoty guy, and then they were like,
Oh.
bang, right on the money, and then they make the black joke where the black character's like, you know we're tropical people.
So bad.
I don't even
How-
know what that
no.
means. I don't even know
I
what
don't
that
know.
means.
It's so bad.
Well, obviously it's an offhanded reference to the Pirates of the Caribbean
That's
Ooh.
what it is.
because they're Caribbean people.
right?
Like, is he trying to say that all black people are tropical people? Because that's just false. That's very, very far from the
I
truth. that
don't know
all
what
black
it meant.
people are tropical
I
people.
don't know.
Yes,
what
But
it meant.
then he follows it up by making this black character say, "I'm gonna smoke a joint, watch 2 hours of Roots." Like, what the fuck?
It's
What
literally
is
you could tell it's just a white guy. Like, oh, what's a
That's
show that
not even a funny
it's
joke.
bad. It's really bad.
It's entirely
really bad.
offensive.
It's like those parts of the movie is like enough for me to just say this movie cannot get a 3 out of 10.
No, it
Because
can't.
That's why it was
3
a
out of-
2.9.
That's
why
why
it
it's a
got
2 out of 10. Like, it's
So-
so bad and so tasteless, even for 2000.
If you guys want to know why I gave it 13 out of 14 or 14 out of 15, I don't
It was
remember.
13 out of
Eleanor's.
14.
Yes.
13 out of
Eleanor's.
14 Eleanor's. The reason I used Eleanor as a basis for my sliding scale is because Eleanor is the total embodiment of all of the dumb-ass things that this movie has to offer. And so the more of the numbers that I can put into it, the more I can point out how ridiculously offensive this movie is. So it's not to say that 13 out of 14 Eleanor's is a good thing. It's to say
Oh,
13
we
out
know.
of 14
Oh, we
Eleanor's
know.
is an A-plus failure.
Got it.
Just to clarify for anybody who didn't know.
That scene is problematic by itself. And then it's followed by Memphis and Kip getting chased by Johnny B.
Oh
They're
my.
driving, they get boxed in, and they shoot up his car, and he escapes and he runs away into a diner that has a cop car outside of it. And this is the worst line Nicolas Cage says in this
Yes, it
entire
is.
movie. He goes in there, and then Johnny B and his crew's like, "Man, we can't go in there and kill him because there's a cop car there." And like disregarding the whole, it's like a fucking public place and everyone's gonna see you kill these guys. Like disregarding that, it's because there's a cops there. But he says, Nicolas Cage looks out towards Johnny B, and in the weirdest way possible says, "Look, cop car. Long as I'm in here, you're just gonna sit out there, aren't you?"
Delivered just like that.
It was so dumb.
Also,
And I don't
they
know
can't
why
hear him
you
through the
say it like
glass.
that.
How could they hear him through the glass? There's no way they heard what he said.
No, they didn't
really
hear it.
atrocious.
Also, just because a cop car is around does not mean that the cops are aware of the black
Of
gangster
what's going on.
characters. They don't know what's going on. There's no way that the two parties entering the same restaurant is going to send up red fucking flags because nobody's even thinking about the fact that Memphis Reigns, as of 24 hours ago, is out of retirement. Because they haven't
these
been caught
cops-
yet.
How did
How
these
did
cops
these
not
cops
recognize
not
him?
recognize him, but the other cops
the other
recognize him?
cops.
Hey, but the cop that goes up to the car after, okay, so they get pulled away, right? Kip sneaks
Okay,
out,
wait.
hooks it up.
Kip sneaks out and
go.
hooks it up to a big rig semi, right? This scene was way too long. This scene is one of those ones where I put it up to 1.5 because they just show him like sneaking around and then they cut back to Nicolas Cage doing fuck all, like he's not doing anything, and it lasts for at least 5 minutes or something. He hooks up Johnny B's car to the big rig, and then the big rig owner goes out and he's driving away. He drives away with a big rig hooked up to a car, and it pulls the fucking drivetrain off of that car. It literally destroys it, when in reality he would just keep pulling the car with
It would
him.
tow it?
That was
Yeah.
not where I thought it was going. That is not at all where I thought it was. I thought the semi was just going to drive off and carry Johnny B with him. But they fucking ripped the entire bottom of the car out of the car. And this attracts the attention of everyone. And the cops run up, and then they like hold them all at gunpoint, and then they're like, Do you got permits for those weapons? And that's the end of Johnny B. Goodbye.
Okay, let's back up.
The cop who walked up to the car is the cop from Halloween 2018.
Oh my!
Yes.
You are
Deep
correct.
cut.
I recognized him, but I thought the other guy was Justin Long the whole time.
Guys, let's back up a little bit and talk about what Memphis actually did to that truck driver. Because he walks up to the guy and he goes, "Hey, dude, is that your big rig?" Whoa! And the whole time, they're like, "We're going to go in here so we can be inconspicuous so that we don't get ganged up on by a literal gang that will kill us. So that way we can prevent violence." What does he do? He goes to a guy, by association, forces him into the conflict by using his vehicle, which he uses for his livelihood, to attach itself to the enemy's car, rip its drivetrain out, and on top of that, get the attention of the cops. So this poor asshole who is just like, "Hey, thanks for admiring my car," is now a part of a gang-related violent event, and also an international car heist. And he can no longer go to work.
And
Memphis
either
Reigns
way,
is the villain.
and
He has
either way,
guns pulled on
he's
him.
involved. The semi-truck driver is involved in completely destroying someone else's property. Like, he's gonna, like, his insurance is gonna have to pay for that.
There's no way he's
How
not
do you
at fault for
explain
this.
that?
That's what I'm saying, is like they left him to hang, dude. They like, he can't explain like, "Well, I went inside to this diner, got a dinner, and then somehow my car was hooked up to another car which totally obliterated that car with the people in it." He can't explain that. It would sound like he got drunk and then just did something stupid. And guess what? Those two stupid brothers are not going to be there to help figure that problem out. And that guy now is sinking. He probably actually committed a felony also, which probably means that he's going to jail.
This poor
Okay.
guy. They're just making a joke out of him.
So this scene ends, and we get back to Otto's workshop. And this is where Freb steals a car.
Oh
that
yes,
has its
the
keys
heroin
in it.
storyline.
Wait,
He steals
guys, wait, hold on. We forgot when Sway comes to help the group.
Oh.
Because she drives up on her motorcycle at the harbor. And she doesn't even drive the motorcycle. She's like not even going fast enough for it to move. So she's like wobbling and falling over. And then it's like a really weird cutting thing. And he's like, "Oh, you showed up." And she's like, "It wasn't the same without you."
I don't know. What?
Okay. So her like inclusion in this, like she like just randomly, so she made her mind, "I'm not helping you." And then later on, like maybe 10 minutes away, she's like, "I'm helping you. I'm not going to explain why. This movie isn't going to explain why, but I'm just helping you again. That's it." And then she just joins, like out of nowhere. Just like,
What's-
magic.
And then
What's
she does
her
nothing.
motivation,
And then she does
right?
nothing. Yeah.
no
She's
motivation,
like,
yes.
She's like, I stole cars. I was part of this international, top level car heist group. That's what we did for our living. Let's like dissect this character, because she is literally fucked for the entire film. She's in league with Memphis Reigns, and then he quits, and just like his brother, she's totally abandoned, and she's like in a relationship with him. And he's like, "Well, I asked you to come with." And she's like, "Yeah, like spur of the moment. Like you literally said we're going now, and that was my only life. And like I was in the middle of a lot of shit that you just left me with. And so I was suffering for a long time. And then I got out because it wasn't the same with you, because I really was only doing it so that I could be close to you. And then you weren't even around anymore. You didn't even bother to say goodbye. And then on top of that, I had to go work 2 minimum wage jobs that don't pay my bills. And I realized that the reason I was stealing is because it was so hard to be a woman and to make money. And so I was objectified, abandoned, and I didn't even have a chance of living on my own. So now I'm suffering even more. I'm fixing cars instead of stealing them. I'm offering people drinks at a bar as a bartender. And then you come back into my life, ask me to save your brother's life because you guys are both stupid. And
For like
I say-
$20,000.
For like
Entire
$20,000,
cut.
which is nothing. And then I say no. You guilt trip me. And then you leave. And then I feel bad, so now I feel obligated to help you because we were in a group in the first place. And then spends the rest of the movie trying to be his girlfriend again when all he can think about is saving his brother. He never acknowledges what he did to her. And he only once tries to hook up with her.
And she takes him back.
sucks.
She just
And she takes him back. She just forgives him.
She just forgives him, forgets everything, takes him back, and she's like the one who kind of initiates it. Was she not the one who initiated trying to take him back?
She showed up and then she like flirted with him and like let him
and
on.
then a scene later on in the movie, she's like talking about like getting freaky with him or whatever, and she's like leather, high heels, and pink underwear, and then Nicolas Cage just says pink underwear works, pink underwear works. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What is going on? It's like the most misogynistic way of like looking at this character and making her bend over backwards for this main male lead and do anything for him. And then what's worst is it's Angelina Jolie. You casted Angelina Jolie for that role.
Yeah.
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 It's so bad.
And then you sidelined her.
Yes.
Like,
And she's
you think of
barely in it, so
Angelina-
she got
you
no
think
more
of-
development after that. Like,
you think
No.
of Angelina Jolie and you're like Mr. and Mrs. Smith or like Salt, and she's like kind of this icon for like a badass woman
Yeah.
who like
She's also like an
Would be-
activist and does all this other shit. And she's like a genuinely
a
good
good
person.
role model. She'd be
And-
a genuinely good role model because like all her kids are adopted too and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or like most of her kids are adopted. Like she has a bunch of adopted kids, and like she's like this pioneer for like women
Like
actors,
female
in the
rights
industry.
and having that freedom. And I know it was early on in her career, but still for
It's
people
still
to
so
think
bad.
that means that even top actresses like her were still sidelined and
Mm-hmm.
boxed into sexually exploitative roles.
I mean,
Yes,
if you see the
extremely.
poster, she's like looking kind of in a seductive way, and then she's barely in the movie. She's in the movie way less than Giovanni Ribisi.
And her name is Sway.
yeah, it's like all just to get teenage boys into the theater because Angelina Jolie's in it, just
Exactly.
like sexualizing her.
Yeah, and it's during, I think it's during, is it during the scope out sequence when they go together to find this specific car that this really rich guy has at his house? And so they're
Yes.
watching them have sex through a window that's not closed for any reason. They're just standing in front of it. They don't happen to see the car in their driveway. And then they try themselves to have sex while they
Right.
fetishize a car and its many,
And he's
many,
talking
many
about
parts.
Cars, yeah,
That's correct.
yeah. Well, I don't think we're there yet, are we?
No? Is
Wait,
that
hold
part
on,
of the
hold
stakeout sequence or no?
Hold on, I'll be right back. You guys can continue without me.
Okay. Well, that's So like that's a little bit later because we were
Is
on
it
the
later?
part, yeah
Okay.
because we're on the part where
Heroin
Freb-
in the car.
had
Oh
heroin.
my God.
in the car. I
When
thought it
Fred
was
disappeared and showed up with a race car that had heroin in it.
yeah. I thought it was cocaine. I don't know what heroin looks like. I've only seen Breaking Bad and they're shooting up in their arms, so I don't understand.
Right. I think they say heroin. That's how I figured
They
it out.
say heroin. If they didn't say this is heroin, there's
Yeah,
no way I would have thought it was heroin.
It looks like coke. It acts like coke.
yeah, it blows away like
And
Coke with
it
the
blows
away.
exhaust.
Also, so in that scene, the detective finally comes back, and he's like, just walks into the shop and is just like, "Hey, I'm here to bust you, make you scared." And
Yeah.
and in that he's like harassing them.
Yes.
Like it's not just a detective showing up and trying to do his job. He's harassing them. And let's go back a little bit because we kind of sidelined him because he sucks and why would we talk about him? But he tracks down this guy that he's just like he
Oh
hates
my.
but he's also in love with. And when he goes and finds out that their team was buying laser cut keys off of a dealer so that they could steal these cars. The dealer says we kept it anonymous because we didn't want to trace anything back, but the kid looked like a boxer type. I don't know if you realize this, but for some reason they take that stereotypical image, that like brief rundown of what the character looks like, they transplant it onto Nick Cage. Not Kip, not Freb, not any of those guys. They put it on Nick Cage, and then they swap it again, and they say that that's not the boxer type, and it's somebody else. So
I
they don't
didn't
even
notice.
I
it's
don't
a
know.
flip-flop through the entire movie. It's literally just like the guy's like, I am going to get my lawyer, and he goes, well, that's an option. And then he goes, or we can just, you can do that, and then we can just go straight to court and just, nail you for Grand Theft Auto and for
Not really how it works. You still need a lawyer.
Which isn't how it works.
Yeah.
They need proof, which they don't have. If the guy had held off a little longer, it wouldn't have worked because they wouldn't have been able to prove it because he didn't have a statement. And it's like everything this guy does is so stupid and it doesn't make any sense. And it's always filled with vengeance. But we don't even know what he did to get that response out of this detective.
Yeah, it's just the fact
know.
that he couldn't catch him. He was the one who got away, this criminal that got away. He couldn't catch him. But that's not enough to explain why he has such a vendetta against him. It's insane.
And it's funny to me that they lead him through as a detective throughout the entire film because literally all of the clues that he's supposed to find are put right in his face. Every time he says something, it's so on the nose. One of my favorite Oliphant lines is when he goes, he says something about his wife because the detective says something about his wife, Castlebeck, because he made a bet on what Memphis was doing supposedly in the city when he visited his mom. And Drykoff is talking about his wife because he says oh, well, I lost the bet on my wife's going to be mad that I lost $200. And he goes, yeah, your wife can be really mean sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, she's so mean. And then it's quiet, and then he leaves, and he's like, or right before he leaves, Drykoff is like, yeah, man, we're going to put you away for so long, by the time you get out, cars there'll be flying cars, you won't even be cars, and that would suck you, wouldn't it? And you're just like, every line is that bad, really? They really, really did that to these actors?
Yep. It's so bad.
How long did that movie take to shoot? Because I feel bad.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, how long did it take to watch? Because it felt a lot longer than the runtime.
Well, it turns out it is actually about 2 hours, which is a miserable
I saw that
experience.
there's an extended edition that's 2 hours
Is
and
there
7
really?
minutes. Yeah, it's 10 extra minutes. Yeah, I don't know.
God.
Interesting.
There's a director's cut. So the detective comes into the shop, and he's like, hey, you guys are all a bunch of little fucking losers, and all of you are criminals, and since you're all in one room, and nobody can ever be reformed, I am assuming that you guys are all dirty basket cases who are just trying to do something nasty. And Memphis is like, dude, you're kind of hurting my feelings. You just came in here, and, Nick literally says that. But he comes in, and he's just, demanding all these things and making all these assumptions, and Memphis is just like, hey, you know what? You're actually kind of hurting my feelings because you're just assuming the worst of me all the time. Every time I've seen you, you just told me that I'm a piece of shit, and I haven't done anything. And he's like, you definitely can't prove it. And, it is a family emergency and all this stuff. And he's like, you literally think that I'm selling this, I've chopped this up and sold it for parts. And he's like, I don't know, prove me wrong, which is not how detective work works.
No, not at all.
And they're like, well, then get in the car and turn it on. And the dude literally comes, on screen.
He does.
And
while
it's
the heroin
so
gets
weird.
blown away.
Why did he get in the car? You're investigating these criminals, and you're just like, yeah, let me check out this nice ride you guys have. It's so stupid. Put a tracker in there or something to make his character do something more... anything, but just getting in there and not having a reason other than he also enjoys cars is so stupid.
Right? And guess what? I found out that one of the behind the scenes goofs, on IMDb, is that his comment on automatic driving, the auto, the cruise control.
What
His comment on he was like, this is one of the earliest models to put cruise control in the car, and Nick Cage is just like, haha, yeah, okay. And he climbs into the car, and he's like, what, are you sassing me? He's like, no, I'm just sure that your knowledge of cars is far superior to mine. Because he's like, I built cars before I stole them, and I steal them, and I know everything about them. And he's just laughing about this. I realized that because I'm an idiot when it comes to cars. The goof says that that's actually not true. That comment about the cruise control is not true. And they said it was a goof, but the idea is actually that it's the cop being so egregious in his big dicking that he's like, saying things that he thinks are true, but it's not true.
I
So
wouldn't
Nick
have
Cage
known.
is literally
I would not
laughing
have
at him.
known.
But the thing
Yeah.
is this movie's so dumb, it literally can't even pull that off.
Yeah, I thought
Correct,
he was being
correct.
serious, and
Me
Luke.
too.
None
I
of the
don't
three
know
of us
anything.
know anything about cars. Tony does, but he's the one who's not here, so we'll ask him when he comes back. Anyway, moving on with it.
Yes.
Where?
back.
We have a question. We have a question for you.
Whoa.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead.
Do you know anything about when cruise control was invented and what type of model was the first one to have it?
No.
Okay.
Well, neither does this movie. So
Neither
it's
does
okay.
this. Yeah. Yeah. We get to this like the tech boy, the one who can hack the mainframe. He makes
Yes.
new fingerprints for everybody.
Yeah, he does.
No, that's Mirror Man. Mirror Man was giving people new fingerprints.
What?
that's true.
That is true.
There's a weird scene
don't remember.
where we just cut to the inside of the garage and they're putting like weird gel tabs on their fingers. And
Yes,
it's
that's Mirror
totally
Man.
shooting.
That's Mirror Man.
Yeah, that's Mirror Man. And he's like out of nowhere, this guy's like, I need to do this. And he's like, why do that? You're an idiot. Why don't you get a more modern, bro? And then he puts like sticky things on his fingers and he's like, this will give you any fingerprint you want. And it comes out of nowhere.
This is where I'm a bad man comes in when you're
Yeah,
about to go
favorite
steal
part
some
of the
cars.
movie. Favorite part of the movie.
It's the part in the superhero movie where they get the old suit out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, fuck you, I can't believe I'm doing this again. and it's weird because we never saw Memphis. Like, I think the thing that really sucks about this movie is that Memphis is supposedly this, like, incredibly legendary car thief. And we don't get to see any of that because this entire movie is just them botching the same task over and over again. And we don't even get, like, no opening credit sequence where we see Memphis just be a total badass. We don't get to see him in his suit. So, like, him pulling this thing out and going, I'm a bad man. It literally means nothing. It means nothing at all. And
Yeah,
it's
it has
stupid.
no significance to it at all. Like, I'm supposed to care about this leather jacket or something. Like, I previously knew about this leather jacket.
But was there significance in Lowrider starting to play, like it's George Lopez?
Yeah, George Lopez.
I love how everybody takes a moment of pause. Like, you could see, like, even Robert Duvall just being like, dude, shut the fuck up when the song comes on. And everybody's, like, snapping their fingers, a fedora's put on. Like, and somebody's, like, smelling the air and, like, dancing a little bit. And it's, like, no
Nicolas
weirdness.
Cage does this thing with his
Yes.
fingers. Nicolas Cage does this thing with his fingers. It's like jazz hands, but it's like jazz fingers. And he holds both of them up and he's like wiggling his fingers as his
Yes,
eyes are
he does
closed.
like
and
a-
he's like feeling the music. And I'm like, oh my god.
He's just fondling it. He's really into it, and then it makes no sense because then they go on stealing things, right?
Yeah, they start stealing things, and it's so easy for them in the movie. Like, we've
So
been leading
easy.
up to this, and there's, like, no tension whatsoever. They just get, like, 47 cars pretty easily. I just wanted some, like, Fast 5 tension in here, where they're about to, like, lead up to, like, do this big thing, and then, you know, there's stakes, but there's no stakes because it just, like, kind of montages over them stealing all the cars except for Eleanor, or the 3 Mercedes, I mean.
And you know what I don't understand about how they're stealing these cars so quickly? Is they're driving somewhere and they're taking the car. So they're driving, 2 people in a car, drive to an area. They steal the car, but both of them drive in the stolen
Yeah.
car back to the dock.
So they're just
And then
losing a car
they're-
every time.
They're just losing a car every time, but then how do they get back from the dock to the next place? Or do they, like, just have 50 cars that they're leaving all
I didn't
around
even think
town?
about that.
I don't
didn't.
understand it.
It doesn't
makes
make any
no
sense. They just wanted some quippy stuff between the characters, Tony, where he says that he's Robin Hood, bitch. And
After all,
That's
this
right.
is some
That's
of
right.
this is some of the most hilarious content in the entire film. By the way, every single one of these people who are doing these really dumb things, they're all doing it to the maximum stupidity.
oh, definitely.
And we're going to get there. I know. I'm not even going to spoil it, but there's some moments I'm thinking of specifically that really, really grind my gears. But it's very interesting how this is supposed to make us root for a superhero team of car thieves when they're all incompetent.
Yeah.
All of them, not just Freb.
Not
Like,
and we
this is where we get into Otto eating the keys. They have
Or-
these keys
Yeah,
for some Mercedes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he eats them. The dog eats the keys.
Yes.
Did you
which,
say Otto ate the keys? I'm sorry.
I did say Otto. I meant his dog. Otto's dog.
We're not entirely
I'm just
sure
giving.
what the dog's name
I'm
is.
just giving his dog his name as well because I don't know the dog's name. And Otto sounds like a dog's name to me.
Well, I also thought they had a really weird shot of the hamburgers after they left, and I didn't realize that that dog was going to eat them, so it just looked like they added an extra shot.
That was supposed to be a setup shot for
So
him
weird.
eating the hamburgers
Eating the keys.
and the key.
Yeah.
Well, see, the thing that makes this whole thing fall flat, that makes it really nonsensical, is that they don't bring the dog up until right before it's necessary. So it's not
Correct.
like we get to... So we see this guy. We already see this guy. We find out that he taught Memphis how cars work. They have a fetish for cars, that they really appreciate them, and he's just his mentor. And that's when he was like, well, you have a great life. I don't want to, make you relapse and come back into this life. And he's like, no, I got to save Kip, and I got to do right by you. Well, not even in that scene do we get to even see the dog. And then all of a sudden we have like Dr. Doolittle level, like,
Well, we
animal
do see
action.
the dog. We do see
we?
the dog in that scene because he's chewing
Earlier,
on
yeah.
a license plate.
Yeah, I think we see him like
foreshadowing.
one
On a
time.
license plate,
Dude,
which
why
is
would
supposed
they?
to
They don't do a
foreshadow.
cutaway. They don't do a cutaway. Like with all these other shots, right? They're establishing the burgers, and then they establish the envelope that's been eaten, and then they don't show the shit, which is fine, but which I'm a little disappointed about.
Same.
I wish I saw them rooting through poop, but I didn't get to see
I wish.
it. But
He also
they,
pulls
they,
the keys out, and they're
He's
perfectly
happy.
clean.
Yeah, they're
I know.
clean, and he's
Perfectly
happy
he's
after
smiling.
he just shoved his hand
And
in
there's
some
like
dog
nothing
shit.
wrong with it. Like it's not like even a little bit digested. I don't know what's going on.
My favorite part of that sequence where we find out he ate the keys is my quote, which I'm going to read again because it's still good. Otto, man, I think your dog ate the keys. Oh, really? He usually goes for the license plates. Are you sure? Which is great. And
Yeah, because we saw him chewing on a license plate earlier in like one establishing shot way earlier in the movie. And
Right.
and that came to be an important plot point in the movie. For the dog eating things off the table. And this is where we get to your Jamie's favorite part of them about to have sex in the car. And
Because they're stealing a
Yes.
car. They're stealing a car from a rich guy,
Yeah.
and the entire front of his house is glass. And it's a rich guy.
I thought it
in
was an
his-
office because he has a desk in there. I thought they were doing it at his office, and
It's
it was supposed
weird.
to be scary.
Well, it's
It looks like
it's
an
definitely
office.
like a neighborhood though, but it's a neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
But it
maybe
has
it's
like a private
home.
driveway and like a
office?
garage.
But were they trying to make it look like an office because they put a big desk in there? I don't know.
No, I think it's just like rich people have desks in their house.
I think
We don't know these characters
No.
who are about to have sex, right?
we have no idea who they are. We
And
don't know
It's just a
why
random
we're
rich
there.
woman, rich woman, random rich guy, and they're literally making out and like declothing themselves
But she's
and about to have sex in the living room when an entire wall that points to the neighborhood is glass.
Or
And
maybe
this
it's an office, Tony.
turns on
It's their home
Nicolas
office.
Cage
Home office.
and Angelina Jolie.
Well, my problem too with the filming of this is it's like we don't know this character. It's just some like random person, and she's so like exposed. Like, and they're trying to appeal to like this teenage audience just through this random
Yes.
character. So it's just thrown in there for the 13-year-old boys that are go see this movie.
It's kind of like a softcore at this point, which
Yeah.
is weird because it
Yes.
almost seems like they filmed something else when they filmed the movie because they don't
Oh,
say who
I
it
don't
is.
know.
I don't know, but they don't say who it is.
I don't believe that.
They don't know. We don't know who this person is. We really don't even know what car we're looking at this point. We don't know why the car is only with this person at their home/office, and everything about it looks like a cologne commercial,
Oh, that's a
It
good
does.
comp.
It does.
Good comp.
which is a weird thing to do in the middle of a race car movie.
But what's even weirder is how Nicolas Cage talks while they're hooking up about car parts.
Car
And he
parts.
keeps backing away from kissing her to say car parts. I'm like, how is that turning you on? Nick Cage just saying
Well,
random
I-
words.
Did you notice
have-
like it was really odd because she was trying to get over the gear shift,
Oh, so weird.
Yes.
and,
So
and
I
he
have-
was like, you got to be careful with the gear shift. Like it
I
could
have the
do
lines
something.
right now. I
No,
have
oh,
the
you
lines
do. Oh,
right
Oh,
now.
he
beautiful.
does. He does.
He
That's
says,
beautiful.
he says, so there's something like, oh, they're having sex while something, blah, blah, blah. And then Nicolas Cage says, I think it's Nicholas. It could be Angelina Jolie. I don't know. Someone says, how about having sex while boosting cars?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
that's Nick.
That's Nick.
Angelina Jolie, she's like trying to get over the gear shift. And then she's like, well, the problem is, how do you get over the shifter? And then Nicolas Cage says, Yeah, right. Because you wouldn't want to disrupt the synchro mesh, right? Or the throttle linkage. And then Angelina Jolie like wants to stop. Okay, this gets really fucking weird. She wants to stop, and she wants to just steal the car and go back into like this whole heist thing. And then he says, "No, wait, just straight inline sex, triple Weber carburetors bolted to each other's body structures."
What does that even mean?
It's just so weird because it's also like she's trying to stop, and then he's like, no, we're not stopping, just straight inline sex. It gets like really rapey vibes.
Yes, it's very forced, and it also like it makes her character look like a dumb idiot.
Yeah,
a dumb idiot that goes back to him again after that.
Okay, well, anyway, we cut to Michael Pena being super offensive.
So they're walking the dog, and then
a
Mexican gang shows up in a lowrider, and they're like, "Why are you on my block?"
And
he's like, "I'm just walking the dog," and he's like, "Why? You want a problem?" And he's like, "Well, no, I work down here. My dog needs to go out." And he's like, "Cool. So you want your ass kicked?" And he's like, "I don't know how to have this conversation. Probably because I'm high right now, but I don't know." And it's just like a stoner thing, right? It's like they're two idiots or two very, very high people. I can't really tell. It seems like Freb and whatever his face are just high throughout the entire movie. But they're like, I don't want violence. Like they're like, I really, really, really just want my dog to take a shit. So if you could just let me do that, that would be awesome.
And
they take it like offensively. Shit. Yeah, and then the dog takes the shit.
And what drives these people away is that Freb goes through the dog shit, and he's like playing with it. And then the guy's like, "Ew, you get your jimmies off by playing with dog shit? What type of person are you?" And then that's what drives them away.
Yeah.
Well, and let's not even. I mean, we could really talk about it, but like, let's talk about like just briefly how offensive that comment is. Like, the guy is clearly getting something out of dog shit, which would have been, again, hilarious to actually see. But, it's like he pulls his keys out and the response is to sexually belittle the person trying to get this thing out of his dog shit for no other reason than to do it, which is weird because we just came out of a hyper-sexualized situation that was kind of rapey and a little forced.
Well, it just goes back and forth between these like hyper-sexualized scenes and also racism, and that's all this movie is. It's just back and forth the entire time till it ends. And it's again sexual at the very, very end when it cuts to black. He's sexual again to this car. That's all this movie is.
Oh yeah, and he loves that it's rusty. Okay, so we get the keys, and then what happens? I'm like, at this part of the movie is always hazy to me because I really don't understand.
It
is Sphinx and Mirror Man, and they got into the impound, and they're stealing like some Hummer, right? They're stealing some Hummer, and the license plate says Snake.
Snake.
License plate says Snake, and there's a snake in the car. Which, why would there be a snake
would you leave it in
a
your
car? It's left in the car, and it's like impounded, right? And like these cops are like, "Oh, let's go into the impound. We just want to check it out because there's car thieves."
No. It's literally a parking garage. This guy just parked his car. They went in, and they went to go do this.
So he just takes his snake everywhere.
Actually, I think it was the impound because they just like drove up and they were like, "Hey, we're cops. We're looking at this." And the guy was like, "Okay."
It was a parking garage though, because it had the I don't think it was an impound. I thought it was just parking.
No, I think it's a parking garage, and they showed up and they said they were cops,
and he was just like whatever, because like they didn't even need it. Oh, so they wouldn't have to pay probably to get in.
Okay, so they're driving around. Sphinx is driving this SUV, and there's a snake in the car. And before that, another racist joke is Mirror Man says that he's going to play some music for Sphinx, and he says, "It's a little bit different than that cracker shit you're used to be playing."
So bad.
And then they drive away in the Hummer, and there's a snake in the car, and it's crawling up into Mirror Man. And then he says, "This snake is crawling up my ass. It's up my ass. This snake gonna swallow my shit whole, man." And during this entire time, Sphinx, this gets into a problem that I don't understand with these stolen cars. Does it matter if this stolen car is like damaged or not? Because he slams it across the wall, and he slams it against the cop car, and he's like driving around and trashing this car, but it still counts as a car that they get. But at the end of the movie, Eleanor is trashed, and they don't want Eleanor. But also in the beginning of the movie, Kib drives a Porsche through a window, damaging the car, and like it doesn't matter. So does it matter or not? Does it damage matter or not?
Let's get to the end of the movie before we decide whether it matters or not, because there are some very interesting things that happen at the end that also make no sense, but in a weird way they tried to acknowledge that it doesn't make sense so that it would be more digestible. But it's not. So we can go through that when we get there. But the snake thing is ridiculous for a number of reasons, because it's a green Hummer with a boa constrictor in it. Not anything smaller. It's a boa constrictor. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but at what point does it matter that it's stupid? You know what I mean? Like, the name Snake is on the license plate, then you always think like it's like, is the guy's name Snake? Is that his nickname?
I don't know. I don't care.
And then, but there's an actual.
I really don't either.
So here's the most important question of Gone in 60 Seconds. Does that snake own that car? And is he actually the person who's registered on the insurance?
When he's crawling up his ass, he's trying to defend them from stealing his car.
Also, this guy is like saying he's crawling up his ass, right? And like, I don't know about you, but like, he's like kind of freaking out, like making these bad jokes. I would flip shit if there's a snake going up my leg. I'm also like afraid of snakes. I'd probably just jump right out of the fucking car. If a snake was crawling up my leg towards my butthole, I would just fucking...
your poop. But the way
it might swallow my feces.
The problem with that is the way that it was shot. The snake was just like in between his legs, and it wasn't even like going anywhere yet. It was just in between his legs and was there. And then they cut to like him freaking out without like the snake in there, because they're not going to film him freaking out with the snake in there. But when they do show the snake, he's just sitting in there, and it's just in between his legs.
Yeah.
That's not doing anything. Yeah. And there's also a very racial thing that happens next, either before or after, in the same sequence, when they pull the Lil Wayne deal and they go like all whimsical and wacky when the guy's like, they take the black character, make him dress up like a weird pimp, and then go to the person at the lot, probably the impound at that point.
Yes, this one was the impound.
Yes, and then he makes a doll dance, says racist shit about himself.
Oh, that was terrible.
So he's dressed up as a pimp, he walks up, and then he's like talking to he's trying to distract the security guy at the impound so they can steal the cars. And he's like, my Volvo's in here, I know it is. And then he's like, there's no Volvo in here, and he keeps talking about the Volvo. And then he runs out of things to distract him with. So he pulls out a black Barbie doll, and he starts singing She's a Brick House to distract him from looking at the monitors.
Oh my God.
That show that they're stealing the
bad.
car.
It's so offensive. It's so offensive.
Bad. All of it. How did they get away with any of this?
I don't
understand how this is even a movie.
Also, at what point do we all just come to a consensus on the meaning of the title of the film, Gone in 60 Seconds?
I don't understand.
It doesn't apply to anything in the
movie. There is time related in the movie, but it's never related to 60 seconds.
Never. And they never, it's not even a tagline like, Memphis Reigns was beautiful at his job because he could do it in 60 seconds. Yeah. It's not that. It doesn't ever do it in 60 seconds. Nobody ever does anything
Gone
in 60
in 24
seconds.
hours.
And wait, hold on, real quick. I found out another behind-the-scenes fact. In Greek, when this movie was shown in countries that showed the film in with the Greek language subtitles and the voiceover, it was actually translated to "come in 60 seconds."
Like what he's going to do in his car, am I right?
Interesting.
Exactly.
Or those mattress stains.
It's a stain-inducing event.
What did you guys think about the scene where Kib and the boxer-looking guy, I don't remember his name, and the computer hacker guy go and steal some random trash-ass SUV?
Yeah.
Like, why did that need to be stolen?
This is my favorite part of that sequence. This is the part I didn't want to bring up out of sequence because I didn't want to ruin it.
they steal some stupid trash SUV, and the hacker guy looks at a girl straight in her face, and she's like, "That stupid car!" And he gets in the SUV, and they're driving away, and a cop follows them because they're driving too fast, and there's a blockade down the road, and the cop shoots into the car and hits the computer nerd.
Oh
guy.
my god,
No.
why would they just shoot? Why would they just randomly shoot into the car?
Also, we're forgetting a bit of important pretext
Let's
to
hear
this
it.
moment.
Let's hear it.
There is a character who's a dumb idiot, just flat out. He's not smart. He's actually, they've asked why he's on the crew many times. He sneaks along on this trip, and he's not supposed to. So we've had Fred steal a car that doesn't, it's not even on the list. He just dipped and did whatever he wanted, and it was filled with heroin. And then we have this character who's not Fred, and he gets in the car, he hides until they get to the point where they're stealing the car, and then he does nothing but be a fucking problem, and he is the guy who gets shot.
You know what also doesn't make sense? So he can hack the mainframe and know, change the VIN number and know the addresses for cars and look up license plates numbers. But then Donnie later goes to the DMV and pays this chick $100 for the addresses of 20 cars.
And then he does the most stereotypical black thing, which is penny pinch.
Yes, and this is also when he walks by the reoccurring Asian woman joke, and they're like, "I'm sorry, you failed the test. You got 5 questions wrong." And then she's like, "Why? I thought you're supposed to speed up when you get tailgated." Shut up, movie. You're bad.
It literally, she disappears just to be rehashed in passing. When ironically and also impossibly, the same character is at the DMV at the same time, passing her in the same line. A window next to her. So it serves the purpose solely of just berating and terrorizing minorities. That's it. That's all it does. And then the black man is like, "Oh my God, I can't pay for that. I'm not going to be stiffed. I'm not going to put my money there." Like, could you be more annoying? You have to understand that, like, all these things are just so offensive because they paint such a bad picture as a whole of people that are struggling and, seriously oppressed and, marginalized. And it's like, I know that's like a real, almost like political topic, but like,
even though it shouldn't be a political topic.
It shouldn't be. It should be a normal thing to talk about, and it is becoming something normal to talk about. But when you look at it and then you realize, like, this is what people thought of minorities. Like, the reason this got made is because nobody saw anything wrong with it.
Wrong with any of it.
Which is insane.
Like,
it should be like a human rights issue, like just a human rights issue that everyone everyone should know about and that people experience.
And so we're back to the movie, and these characters are stealing this thing. And this guy is acting like a stereotypical, almost cartoonish black pimp singing Brick House with a black Barbie doll to a white man who is telling him, "I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be offensive, but your car's not here."
Yes.
And then they steal a car. And then what happens next, my friends?
Okay, I would just want to add that it's like problematic. Like, racism in movies is problematic because, like you said, it like grossed $100 million or whatever. Like, clearly a lot of people saw it. Clearly a lot of like kids saw it and are influenced by it in some way. And so when you have these things in movies, in mainstream media, it is a problem.
It's a huge
and it
problem.
like magnifies it and it makes it seem okay. And that's why when we talked about the B movie, especially, like the racist things in the B movie is even like it's horrible because it's geared towards kids.
And this is a PG-13 movie too, so it's for teenagers.
Toward teenagers
who are going to be the worst about it too, and actually, or maybe not the worst, but they're going to say shit at school like this because they're seeing it in a movie.
Course.
That they saw.
They see it in the movie.
Know that it's
and
wrong.
They don't know
because
the
movie's telling you it's
wrong.
Fine.
Well, the problem is they know it's wrong, but they want to be edgy. They want to be cool, and they think it's funny. You know.
But also, this movie portrays it like it's not a bad thing. So do they know if it's wrong? Do they know if it's edgy, or do they just think that's the way it is?
It's edgy. I think they think it's edgy, but at the core of it, it's not wrong. Like, it's not a bad thing. They're like, it's like funny and it's just a joke, but it's not really a bad thing because this movie's portraying it as not a bad thing.
what would be edgy, what would make it edgy and relevant and purposeful is if they used all the stereotypes to show people how fucked up it is, but instead they use it to actually enable and further justify.
It's like an actual joke.
Yeah,
like
it's an actual joke.
It's
not like
joke.
Yeah, it's not like you see these characters who are black being, treated as, characteristically
It's
black.
not satirical. It's not like a metaphor for anything. It's just like them trying to do that as an actual joke.
Exactly, which is like kind of horrifying.
It's very
because
horrifying.
It's very horrifying.
I didn't want to be dramatic. To
No,
anybody,
it's horrible.
but
It's bad.
It's
really
massively terrifying and haunting. The fact that these things were actually things that like I cheered on as a kid because my family watched these kinds of movies all the time, and I was a Nick Cage fan. I mean, Con Air. I mean, give me a fucking break. Like that shit was normal for me, and this movie was a normal thing for me. And it's unfortunate because. I don't know where I got lucky, but I ended up on the right track and like actually speaking out against these things, and like we're doing right now. But
it's like a thin line on which road you can go on. Yeah, like
it's very thin. It's very
when it's in the
false.
media from when you're a kid, you could just be influenced completely by it, or like
and then
stuff
you
like.
could
Go ahead.
almost have like a nostalgic factor linked to it. Like, maybe you love this movie because it's so nostalgic to you, and, like, you see the racist things in it, but you're so nostalgic about it because it was a part of your childhood that you just, like, don't care about it, and then, therefore, you can't care about these other race issues.
Jerry Bruckheimer said this was cool.
Oh, my God.
Somebody who grossed over $83 million in personal net worth, he made a empire off of racial discrimination and sexual objectification of people. It's weird.
Terrible.
Yeah, and it's also like when you're not one of these marginalized group, you're never gonna really know how it feels to be this marginalized group. So like you watch these things that enable it and you're like, oh, so it's fine, even though like you have no idea what the experience actually is.
I had no idea until I met people when I was older, like in college, outside of college, where I was like, oh, I understand now because most of my friends are like this and I have the ability to experience, that life. Like I have a lot of friends who are, of color or a minority in general. And it's like, it's horrifying. Like I will straight up see people be racist just because the name is like Hernandez or whatever. And they're just like, yeah, we're not going to treat you or we're not going to let you do this or we're not going to return your phone call. And it's like, you don't even take the time to get to know the person because you already assume they're not a person.
And it's like enabled by even like just these small things in movies.
It's
that was it. Yeah, exactly.
Majorly enabled by movies like these, which is unfortunately all of our childhood.
Well, hey, I'm glad that it's like turning a different tide though. There's a lot of like in the media now, like with certain like a lot of the movies coming out, it's talking about these issues.
Huge changes. And
so that's good for future generations.
I even think like movies like Soul that we covered on the podcast, where it doesn't even delve into like the African American experience. Like it doesn't delve into like what it's like to be black, but here's a snippet of a black person's life. Even those help because it's not like overtly in your face like, look, this is this and you have to learn about it and this is blah 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 blah. It's just showing you an experience and like normalizing it and showing it to different types of people who might not know what it's like.
Exactly.
Right, and if you don't have that context to back it up, it doesn't matter whether you're trying to do good things or not, because nobody's going to know how to interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so even if they made a movie that was purposefully disparaging, and they were like, "This is supposed to be bad, so it enlightens people," it's like, yeah, but there's no indication here that I should be enlightened about any of this.
Yeah, unless there's like bold specific text in the beginning, like Star Wars, like, hey, this is satirical and this is actually what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is it comes off as almost like a Mel Gibson film. I'm not saying Mel Gibson's anywhere in this league. He's actually a phenomenal person, and his movies are actually they do exactly what we're talking about, and he makes it clear. But with that being said, this film is almost like a slapstick Mel Gibson satirical comedy that doesn't even know it is.
That's not.
It's on accident. Yeah, it's on accident.
Which doesn't make it a satirical comedy.
Doesn't have
makes it a racist
purpose.
comedy
Yeah,
is
it doesn't have the purpose behind it.
No. Okay.
Do you mean Mel Brooks? Because I think you said
Mel Gibson. Oh, Mel Gibson sucks. Yeah. Mel Brooks.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You said Mel
Okay.
Gibson.
So
is good.
sorry. No, Mel Gibson is.
You would have
has some
gotten.
of the.
You would have gotten some hate mail for that one, Jimmy.
Mel Gibson has made some really, truly jaw-dropping movies, but he's a piece of shit. So no, I'm not
There you
talking.
go.
I'm talking
Okay.
about Mel Brooks. I'm
Okay,
about
do
that
you
guy.
guys want to get back into the final scene of the movie where Memphis steals Eleanor?
Eleanor.
Yeah.
And he's driving around. So this entire escaping the cops.
real quick. I just wanted to point out that like all the shots of the city are so yellow saturated.
Yes.
It's so bad. And
I
there's
don't
also
know why.
and his last scene has so many Dutch angles. I thought I was watching Thor.
Ouch! Ouch!
Okay. So Memphis escaping the police. It's just like Deus Ex Machina everywhere. Like a semi comes out of nowhere and it blocks the cops so he gets away.
Twice.
Or a bus.
Well,
A bus. No,
let's
the second
start
time was a bus
before.
barrels into a cop car. A
Let's-
bus
let's-
literally
let's-
just barrels into the cop car.
We need to let people know how specifically ridiculous this entire sequence is. So we need to go back to the beginning before he steals the car. He's
Okay.
still with Sway,
Yeah.
and then he gets out of the car. They make weird eye contact that kind of implies they're on the same page, but they're not. She is his decoy, so she's supposed to protect him through this entire thing. She's supposed to create interference for the cops, and he's supposed to steal the car. And then he gets the car. He has a sexual interaction with it, and then they're
Which is-
off through the city because they're being chased immediately.
Yeah, and this is also the only time during this entire heist, by the way, they stole 49 other cars in a different way, where he's the only person in the stolen car.
Yes.
Because every other time, it was they would just both go
Yeah.
in the stolen car and just leave their car there or something.
God.
But this is the first time that he's in the car by himself.
And then I just realized when Kip got caught and they went through the residential area, he literally left his car.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
all got in the car they were stealing.
Yeah,
They
you're
got
right.
shot and then they left.
Oh my
Yes.
god. So,
So-
stupid.
Yeah, and then the guy gets out and he goes, "Oh my god, it hurts." And they're like, "Why did you come with?" And he's like, "I just wanted to feel involved." And they're like, "You're literally the computer hacker. You're not
You're
involved."
still
He's like-
doing something, you dumb shit.
He's like, "I just wanted to know what it was like to be on a heist. So you didn't tell anybody, and then you got shot, and then now you're complaining about being shot." And so everything's falling apart at this point. And they've gotten most of the cars, but there's some damage to a lot of the cars. And then Memphis is literally trying to steal the last car, which has been this entire time kind of like a shade on the entire thing. They're like, yeah, no, only bad things happen with Eleanor.
When he tries to steal, this car. This
Yeah.
Shelby. This specific year Shelby or
Yes.
something.
Then why
Yeah.
did you save it to steal it during the day when everybody
it
can
doesn't-
see you?
Well, it's also
I
he
feel
was
like
so
if-
predictable that the cop was able to be like he'd leave it for the last one. Like
Yeah,
if
I
you're
was
that
gonna say,
fucking
if
predictable,
it's-
dude, you suck.
If it's the hardest car to steal, how about you steal it at the beginning to see if you could even get it? Because
Yeah.
after you steal it in the beginning, you're like, okay, the rest of this is doable. But instead, you choose to do 49 doable cars and then choose the impossible one for the last one?
Yes, and then choose to have your interference come straight out of a minivan.
Yeah, she's driving a minivan, and she helps block off two cars. She blocks off two cops' car. But as we know later on in the scene, that a semi and a bus takes out two cop cars, and then a propane tank takes out three.
Fuck
So she
yes.
helped
Yes.
him
Fuck
less.
yes.
She helped him less than some random goddamn propane tank.
So
Exploded and took out three cop
this
cars.
entire scene is set up to show that they have emotional bonding again, that they're really on the mend, but also to put on this homoerotic, the one who got away, cop versus criminal arc that seemingly was coming to a head the entire time, and it basically comes down to Memphis stealing the car, abandoning his girlfriend or his almost girlfriend for a dangerous high-speed car chase through a metropolitan downtown LA area, neck to neck with Detective Drykoff and Castlebeck in the same car.
Yeah.
And the entire time, Castlebeck is like, "That motherfucker. Oh my god, I can't wait to get my fucking nuts off to it. I'm gonna find him, and I'm gonna have so much sex with him." And it's like, I'm not even I'm not even being like homophobic or anything. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense. I'm saying like it's too charged and there's no payoff, and it makes very little sense when you find out what happens at the end of the movie.
Also want to add that when they're driving around in the city, there's like certain scenes where it's shot really poorly to where you could see like just bystanders and extras like in the cars, and they're going like 3 miles per hour so that these cars can come by in like 20 miles per hour and look quote unquote fast.
How else would he be driving that fast backwards and giving thumbs up to kids in cars?
That's true.
Inspirational.
Like it's like fine when like action movies do that because that's kind of what they have to do, but you have to shoot it in a certain way so it doesn't like take you out.
Yeah, it has to be. There's a scene where he's like ripping around a corner, and it's very clear he's going like no more than 15 miles an hour.
And the people inside the cars, when they pan in and it's Nicolas Cage and then it's both the detectives, and like they'll go around a turn and it's obvious that nothing's happening because they're just sitting in the car like and they're like barely swayed, where like they should actually be like and like they like get pushed to the side of the car as they're like actually driving this fast, but they're just like da dum da dum. Okay, we're taking a right. Okay, we're taking a left.
Well, also there's a big problem with the last chase sequence because one, it takes forever. I think it's about an hour long. And it's got so many weird shots and so many good shots, but also so many weird shots, and it's specifically designed to further disorient you because you realize that the entire time this film's been going on, they've been lying to you about the geography of California. Now, for somebody like me who has lived in California and been around that area, everything they're doing makes no sense. It's not geographically sound. It's literally them saying random shit and then just tying together like landmarks as if people watching it don't know that those landmarks are impossibly far apart. Like he drives into the canal and he drives that canal. Really cool scene, right? It's a cool shot. But then he ends up on the bridge, which is in San Pedro, not LA. Now, I don't know if you know this, but LA and San Pedro are not connected. They are at least 30 miles apart.
Well, maybe he made it there in 60 seconds, and that's where the title came from.
He was gone, and then he was done in 60 seconds.
Tell you this, that from LA to San Pedro, it would take you about 50 minutes of driving.
Yes, it would take an hour. You'd be backed up no matter where you went.
Especially with the traffic,
difficult.
it'd be at least an hour.
If you've ever been in downtown LA, you know that not only is this scene totally ridiculous and everybody should be fired permanently from their jobs, but that also it's impossible to drive that speed in downtown LA. It's impossible for you to get down into that canal like that. It's impossible for the cops to do any of the things that they were doing. They literally, my favorite part of that entire sequence is when he's in the canal and the helicopter literally tries to land on top of the car.
But he gets away because this civilian car that they're stealing is equipped with nitrous.
Fuck yes.
Oh,
yes. And you're telling me that Fast and Furious didn't steal from this movie? You're fucking liars. You're all liars.
Let me count the Deus Ex Machinas. Let me count them. Because you have semi, you have bus Ex Machina, you have propane tank Ex Machina, you have a crane with a wrecking ball that's about to destroy a wall, and the cop car drives right at the perfect time to where the wrecking ball destroys the car, and the cop is completely fine. Throws it through a wall, and the cop inside it is completely fine. And then you have nitrous Deus Ex Machina, and the best one, the sixth Deus Ex Machina, is the bridge is backed up because there's an accident, but there's a car, and the back of the truck is a ramp.
Oh my god! Yeah, but he has enough time. He has enough. There's enough space in between where he is and no car. Every car is in the right lane, so then he can speed up fast enough to jump everyone. But there's no cones or anything.
No, I think there are cones because he like ran them over. But the thing is like here's so even if that's not true, whatever, fine. But you're trying to tell me that the tow truck happened to be there, and it happened to be set up like a ramp.
It was angled completely fine to where if he took this angle, he would shoot past the entire blockade of cars and go completely over the top of them and be free. You know what I actually thought was going to happen is that he was just going to take the ramp and get into the other lane, like he would be driving on the wrong side of the road. I thought he'd just take it and it'd be a little hop and he could drive on the wrong side of the road down the bridge and then get back normally. But he actually just jumps over the entire, like practically the entire bridge over all the cars that are causing this blockade.
That is actually a smart way to do it, because ideally if there's a big car accident on a 2-lane bridge suspended 100 feet over the water, they're probably not going to let cars in from the opposite direction. So why not make the little bunny hop and then do that? No. What happens is Detective Drykoff and Detective Kesselback, they all show up and they stop. They don't pull their guns for the first time. They don't
they already,
crash
we
into
already
them
see
for the
cops
first time.
shooting random, into a car.
Just
That's
shooting
what I
randos.
thought.
And they stop and they look at him and they're like, oh yeah, we really got him. And I understand why they wouldn't compute like, oh, this is Fast and the Furious, because it didn't exist yet. But the thing that happens is the guy gets back in his car. And by the guy, I mean Memphis Reigns. He gets in his car and then he backs up so he can get a good runway. And
he drives up there and then he starts to back up.
And we don't even need to even touch on the technical difficulties here concerning the fact that he just blasted that fucking car into millions of pieces. He just smashed into 100 things. He just broke every axle on that car because he's been sliding it through LA.
It slammed across the ground.
It slammed. Well, even before that,
slammed.
right? It shouldn't even be running. But he thinks for some reason that he doesn't need an alignment. He doesn't need to check tire pressure. He doesn't need to make sure that his engine doesn't have a hole in it. He doesn't need to do any of this. That he can back up, drive his car apparently dead straight as fast as possible with no nitrous, jump an entire police blockade, including an ambulance, which he tags on the way down, smash that motherfucker on the ground, not lose a single car part, drive it all the way over to Kalitri, and then go, here's your car.
I also want to add,
think it's fine, and then just be you're gonna be confused why Kalitri's not okay with it.
I also want to add that he broke one of the side mirrors backing up beforehand.
The slowest possible way. The slowest way he possibly could. He's just sitting in the alley.
And then in the very next scene, it's fixed as he's running away from the cops. In the very next scene, it's completely fixed.
I didn't even notice that.
I have a fun fact with Mark that apparently the last chase scene was largely improvised, which is, the best way to film a chase scene. But you could tell that they just wanted this ramp scene and everything else was just like filler to get to this point.
Yes.
It all makes sense.
Well, he takes the car back to the docks and they're like, oh, you're late, we're not taking any more. And then he takes it to Kalitri, and then he's complaining to Kalitri. He's like, I'm only 12 minutes late, you're really gonna bust my balls on 12 minutes? And then Kalitri says, the car's fucking fucked, bro, look at it. Trash.
He's like, I didn't hire you to get half a fucking car, dude. And he's like, yeah, but it's still here. And you're like, wait, I don't understand because the whole point was that he was like, you have 4 days to do this. You have to do it exactly perfectly. But now he didn't even, it's very gracious of Kalitri to not do this, because he didn't even bring up the fact that at least 3 of those cars had bullet holes in them, were either smashed up and the paint was chipped. I think one of the grills for one of the cars was like ripped off completely.
Yeah. And you know what? And you know what Nicolas Cage says? He's like, oh, we'll take like 80 grand to fix. So just take the 80 grand out of the 200,000 you were going to pay me. If that actually happened, he would be left with 120,000, and then he still has to split this 10 ways, and each person gets $1,200 for pulling off this 50-car heist.
Dude, he didn't even consult his team.
No,
he said, "Fuck all that noise. I'm not paying anybody."
You get one stimulus check worth of money for stealing 50 high-end cars.
It's even first wave.
We get to
Dude,
the
that's-
my favorite line in the movie, where he says that he'll just kill Memphis because killing one is like good enough, and he says it never rains, it pours.
Yes.
That's my favorite line in the movie. That bumped up my score a whole star. That was incredible.
As one of my pros. I have that under my pros.
So fucking good. So
and guys, did you know that we're not even done with the movie?
oh,
We
shit.
still have
Well,
it.
because-
We still have
because-
a foot chase and a gunfight to get through.
It's because Nick Cage is a little wired.
Why?
have
I'm a
that
little
quote
wired. If you
right
could just
here.
chill for a second, I've been through a lot.
He says, I'm a little tired, I'm a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation.
And again, guys, when he lands the car, he lands it and he goes, "Oh yeah."
He's like, yeah, I did it. And then he's like wobbling this car that's all fucked up. It's like Kalitri.
And then he gets mad. Oh, this movie's great. This movie's
I
great
loved
from
it.
this point on.
I loved it when Kalitri's like a woodworker or something, and he's like so obsessed
where
with
is this
wood.
character
Yeah,
from
where
it?
did that come
I don't
from?
understand it, but like he pulls a knife on Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage picks up one of his like woodwork projects, and then he's like, "Oh,
No,
you're
not
not
that
gonna,
one.
you're not
Not
gonna
that
attack
one.
me," and then he's like, "No, that's my wood project." And then he like breaks it, and he's like, "Oh, my project."
Well, let's examine why that was so painful for Kalichi, because I think he deserves a little bit of attention since we haven't talked about him at all because he hasn't been in the movie. So he's an immigrant from a different country who hates
I'm
this
assuming
country.
Irish or Scottish.
I
At
would
least that's
assume
his
so
accent.
too. Yeah, and he's stealing cars because he's an internationally renowned psychopath, and he, for some reason, decided to trust an idiot, a blatant foolhardy dumbass, to get 50 cars that are all exotic cars.
Except
They
for that
trusted
one
him not
SUV.
to-
That one in the
Except for the
garage,
one
yeah.
SUV.
Except for the one Hummer and the whatever they got in the residential area, and he entrusted it to someone who had some street cred, but he's also dealing with South American like drug dealers or something that he knows that if he can't sell to them, he'll never be able to sell again. It's like a life-changing, career-changing moment, and he entrusted Kip. Of all
He
people,
entrusted Kip just because he was Memphis's brother.
yes, which
Yep.
makes no sense.
Because Memphis has been gone for like ever.
6 years or something.
Yeah, so why would he just assume that Kip had the same
That Kip
capabilities?
did
that
it
his
all.
brother
Also
did?
And then everybody in the movie is like, including Atlee, is just like, yeah, man, he just showed up in Long Beach and he's just a piece of shit. And everybody's like, oh, cool. And they're like, yeah, I guess we'll just do what he says because he offers good money. But it seems like they could do all of this anyways and make good money anyways. So why are they doing it for him? You know, this guy, he has this fetish for furniture that he says this specifically, that watching a piece of furniture built is like watching a child grow.
Yes.
What?
Yes,
also
in the beginning
says-
of the movie.
He also says that metal is ugly and wood is beautiful and it's from nature.
Yes, and then he says that he builds his own furniture, and then in order to threaten Memphis Randall Raines into coming out of retirement, he shows him the coffin he hand-built and spent countless hours
Yeah.
on for Kip,
Yeah, he
which is like
had
a real
only
baller move.
he had only known that Kip failed for like a couple days, and then he has
Yeah,
built an
so-
entire coffin.
so-
That's why we haven't seen him in this whole movie.
Internationally renowned psychopath. Okay, he hand built a wood coffin for the sake of having one around in case somebody pissed him off. Let's just say that. And then for this entire movie, he's just been waiting, I guess, and not chiming in and
Not
not
doing
trying to
anything.
get anything figured out because it's everybody else's problem but his, except for it's literally his problem. And then at the end, he's like, I will not give you any leeway. I will not help you. I do not have any sympathy for you. And then Nick Cage, the asshole that he is, smashes one of his children. That's where I was going with this, is that he watched Nick Cage murder a child of his, and therefore a foot race and a gunfight ensue, and somehow
gunfight
Detective Dreykov
they were
never
also
shows up again.
They were also
Yeah,
the
he's
cops.
just gone.
The cops were told not to interfere, but he again does something what he's not supposed to, and he
Yes.
interferes anyway. And that's what's his name? Castleback.
Castleback.
Okay. It's just again being an idiot. And then from this point on, the whole movie feels like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia's Lethal Weapon 5.
Nice.
I had thought that the whole time. This is amazing.
From this point on, it just seems like a parody of some other action movie. It really does. It's bad.
Nicolas Cage falls
wait.
through like metal grating, and he's hanging from like a bridge from like a catwalk, and Kalitri walks up right to his fingers and doesn't see him.
Yeah,
Doesn't even notice that the
Does
floor
not see
panel's
him.
gone.
Doesn't even notice it. And then Castlebeck does something that distracts him. Like he like bumps into a metal thing, and then he's like,
Guys,
distracts him.
we forgot again one of the most important parts of the movie.
Unicorn.
So unicorn. So what happens is Nick Cage, he's like, I'm gonna kill you because it's just easier. Because somehow 50 cars is the same as one life, specifically because I couldn't do the job myself, and even though you did the job kind of half-assed, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm gonna kill you. And he takes him in a similar fashion to the junkyard as, you know, the same kind of situation as Kip. And he walks him up and he's got him at gunpoint and he's like, we're going to kill you, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And Nick Cage looks up and they're taking the Shelby in the air with the crane. And he looks up and he goes, unicorn.
Fuck yes, dude. Fuck yes. This is these are the moments that make my 2.9 rating, because you have all this horrible ass sexual racist movie, and then you get these amazing parts with unicorns and Khaleesi saying shit like what's his name?
How great would it be if at the end of this movie he's about to kill Memphis and he's like, I am the breaker of chains. I am the mother of dragons.
Or like when Memphis pushes him over and he's like falling in that really bad green screen scene, a dragon just swoops up under him.
And then we get the whole mad tyrant arc for the rest of the movie. It's just Khaleesi losing her goddamn mind, but it's Khaleesi on top of like a flying rocking chair.
And then he goes on to find his nephew because he's horny.
Okay, so we got away from the point.
So he sees the car. He sees the car and he goes, unicorn. And they're about to fucking gank him. And he's in this junkyard and there's fire spitting in the daytime and there's like all this detritus around. And of course we don't believe that he's going to die because he's Memphis Randall fucking Reigns. And, and all of a sudden Atlee comes out of nowhere and he starts monologuing for no reason.
Yes.
And then out of nowhere, the crane comes by and just fucking whacks shit. And it's who? It's Kip. He's paying it back. And they're looking at each other in the eyes and there's like this like nod of agreement, like, you're a man now. And then he runs for his fucking life. And then they engage in a foot chase where the dumbest thing happens. So they're running in this facility above the office where we originally meet Khaleesi. I'm never going to change it. And all of a sudden Castlebeck shows up and he's so stupid that he actually almost kills himself. He almost kills Kalitri. He almost kills Memphis multiple times because he's an idiot. And they're running around and they're literally shooting. Like, Memphis doesn't have a gun. He's running. He's in this industrial refinery area. And he's being chased by a madman with a gun. And on top of that, he's being chased by a detective who wants him, who also has a gun, and is literally just firing off.
Randomly. He's just firing shots randomly.
Just firing at these wrought iron pipes that are bigger than he is. And it's just like Memphis's luck that he's not getting his head blown off or a leg blown off. And it's just weird. And then he's running, and in this weird, like, action thriller trope kind of fashion, the floor grate just disappears. It doesn't fall out. It doesn't break. It just
isn't there.
Suddenly stops holding on. And then he holds on to the grate. By the way, ouch. And he just hangs there. With no
Yeah.
training, he's not a rock climber. He's kind of
That we know of.
He's kind of well. That's true.
This is rains.
There
He
could
goes
be
bouldering
unknowns.
on the weekends.
and he's just holding onto this metal grate where his fingers are like ripping off, and he's just holding on. And he's not heavy breathing. He's not sweating. He's not. Oh my god, this is so hard. I have to be quiet. Scary. Bad guys coming up. Khaleesi doesn't even see the fact that the floor is missing. He doesn't even notice the fingers that he could just stomp on. And, ooh, divine intervention, Castlebeck does something useful, and he fires off at Khaleesi. Oh, fuck, I messed up. Khaleesi. And I messed up my own joke. I don't
And of course, this all happens in like the typical tropey,
Yeah.
final battle scene type of.
Also,
Yes.
when he
Setting.
falls, I don't know if were they trying to do like a Die Hard homage thing.
Probably.
Maybe.
It seemed like it, but it was so bad I couldn't tell.
Oh my god, guys, I know why
wouldn't
this
give them
movie
any
doesn't make any
credit.
sense. I finally figured it out.
Let's hear.
It's actually a Christmas movie.
It. That's it.
Okay,
So,
so we get
yeah.
to this part where Castlebeck gets his gun knocked away and Khaleesi's holding him at gunpoint, and Castlebeck says, "You don't want to kill me because I'm a police officer, and your life will be over." You'll get caught and your life will be over.
Yes,
And then I love this line that Khaleesi says back. He says, "No, you've got that the wrong way around. If I kill you, your life is over." I love that
Yeah.
line. I love that.
Yeah.
That's such a kick-ass action line, too. It's like...
So good.
It almost redeems a lot of the horrible qualities, like Mark said. It's
But it
like you
doesn't.
have
It doesn't. It
no,
doesn't.
no. I said almost,
Yeah.
in a weird, like almost
Almost.
wish fulfillment fantasy kind of way. But it's not actually substance, and in
And
no
this-
way would it ever
Yeah.
repay.
No.
the debts of
I was
those moments.
what I was getting to was it's these stupid things that made it not
Yes.
a 0 out of 10 movie.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
this is what brought it to a 2.3. The Nicolas Cage, the Khaleesi things, all of this
How dare
crazy, all this crazy shit is what makes it a 2.9, but only a 2.9.
And we get to Memphis knocking Khaleesi off, and he's just falling 10 stories to his death. But it's so obvious that he's laying down on a green screen
Oh, yes.
and just moving his arms
I
and
like it.
legs. And Castlebeck says a brother's love is a brother's love, and he lets him go away. He's like,
and when
Memphis,
I,
please.
so
I'm not
I fucking hate this.
What?
I fucking hate this because we don't know why Castlebeck hates him so much, like we were talking about, Jamie. That we
Yeah.
don't know his motivation, and if he's after him this hardcore, this entire movie, why would he let him go?
But that's what
Why?
I'm saying. It's
Why?
like it's
I
almost,
think it's
Why?
because Memphis is Castlebeck's unicorn.
That's what I'm saying. It's a weird homoerotic, unwarranted, totally without foundation relationship that is the entire time he's married in an unhealthy relationship with his wife. His partner even feels the need to just blurt out, "Your wife's a mean person. You should stop
Yes.
hanging out with her."
She's mean because he's in love with Memphis this whole
It all
time.
makes
He's mean
sense.
because he spent his entire career chasing after a man he's been in love with, and when he couldn't catch him and couldn't get one-on-one time with him, he victimized himself, criminalized both his wife, his career, and Memphis Reigns, and then when Memphis finally came back, he was like, "This is my chance to get the one that got away. It's time to capture my unicorn." And so this entire time, he plays it out as like a hate fest, where he's like, "I hate this guy. This guy's stupid." But no.
He loves him.
Admires and even
He
reveres
endears
Oh
him.
my god.
Memphis
Oh my god. And
Randall Reigns.
let him go
Memphis-
in every movie.
Memphis X Castlebeck. Memphelback.
That is a
Memphis.
That's
couple.
her relationship name.
I will tell you 100% I don't ship it, and 100% I
Me neither.
think I would probably hate to ever see a couple
But
like
how
that.
how
I agree.
How awesome would it be if it just cut and they were both having sex with a car?
They're like, no.
It's
Even
like
better,
it's
they're
a
taking
three-way.
turns with each
It's
other
a
and the
three-way.
car.
No,
Yes.
it's a train. It's a train.
This is becoming-
I have it set up. He's having sex with the car, and then behind him, boom! It's revealed Hasselbeck is right behind him too. And then he's like, "Oh yes, Memphis, I love you."
No. Here, I want to put it really, really clear in your guys' minds. Okay, so Memphis is on his knees. He's like half naked, and then he's really in it. We got a close on it. We just see his face, and Nick Cage is doing his Nick Cage thing, and all of a sudden, a massive hand climbs over his shoulder, and then you find out that Castlebeck is back there, and it's just him, and he leans in and he takes a bite of Nick Cage's neck, and that's it. It's over.
And wait, and then Castlebeck whispers into his ear, "A brother's love is a brother's love."
And then Atlee's on the phone, and he's like, "Hey, Memphis? Are you there? Oh, you're busy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then
he says,
he
and
and
he
the
says-
dog look at each other. He and the dog look at each other, and they're like, "Oh."
And then Castleback says into the phone, "It never rains, it pours."
If the movie ended this way, it would not be a 2 for me. Just by the way.
Holy shit! What a dream ending. I feel like that would almost make up for all of the weird racist sexual.
I don't
shit.
know if it makes up for racism, but
not racism, but like there's got to be some kind of redeeming quality to.
it definitely bumps up the score a little bit.
It would definitely bump
humiliating
up the
both
score.
of them. You know, it's like
All right.
everything's equal.
We
so
quickly through the ending, we just get Fast and Furious barbecue scene,
That's-
Which is so awkward because Memphis is just kissing or making out with Sway in front of everybody.
Yeah,
just to
everybody does that.
imply to the audience that oh yeah, they're together now. But no one would actually do that.
No, and
No.
then we have a Sphinx talk because no one saw that coming.
Finally talks.
and he says
He's
something
British.
Yeah,
and it turns out he's British.
and he says
And he
something that's all like metaphor.
recites an
yeah,
eloquent
blah, blah, blah.
poem. Blah 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 blah.
And then it turns out that he got Eleanor. Someone got Eleanor for him. Kip got Eleanor for him. They get in it.
Legally bought
Yes.
a busted up
because he's
Shelby.
growing. He's growing.
Yeah, like a rusty, busted up Shelby
To show that
for
he's
Memphis
matured.
to thank him.
Yeah. And then the movie ends, and then it starts dying, and he says, "Don't do this to me." And then
And then credits.
and then credits.
no, you missed it. So he gets in the car. He doesn't take Sway with him.
Yeah.
So it's Eleanor, but it's like a rusted out Eleanor.
Yeah.
That's
So it's not
the-
really Eleanor.
No, it's rusted out. It's not good. The engine's like barely okay. They didn't even apparently try to run the damn thing before they just took the fucking cloth off of it.
Uh-huh.
But and all the upholstery is ruined. And he's like, "Holy shit, this is the hottest fucking thing I've ever seen." And he climbs inside, and he's like, "Yeah, he's like, I'm leaving, and I have no way of telling you what I'm going to go do." He just doesn't say it. He just goes, and even though they're all eating.
I have no intention of ever coming back.
of ever coming back. And he doesn't take Sway with him, even though he's flaunting her in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then he drives off after giving his brother a hug. And then the credits roll, and then the car dies. And then as comedic relief, there's a voiceover of Nick Cage going, "Come on, don't do this to me."
So
Not again.
Well, he does. He
Not
does take Sway in the end. She jumps
end.
through the window and they go together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't even invite her. He wasn't like, "Hey, babe, jump in the car. Let's go for a fucking ride." It was like, "Oh, dude, this car's so sick. This is the best Christmas presents I've ever gotten. And I know the family came out to have this holiday with me, but peace, y'all." And then he jumps in the car, and he's like, out. But she jumps in with him, and it's cute. But then again, she's following him.
Yeah.
I hate
Still.
it.
I hate it.
It's horrible.
Terrible.
He
It's
flaunts
terrible.
her, and then she just goes, "Well, Memphis, you're sick, dude. We're gonna go together. Even though I wasn't invited, we're just gonna go together."
And
That's
credits.
the movie. That is gone in 60 seconds.
Wow,
and-
what
That
a
is gone
what a
since-
ride.
Nice one.
All right, so I gave it a 2.
2?
Mark gave it a 2.9.
Yeah.
Luke,
Yeah.
you gave it a
1.7.
Okay,
1.7.
Jamie, what does your
Give us
13 out of
one. Give us
14
one.
Eleanors equate to?
translate on a scale of 1 to 10.
It pretty much translates to about 73 cents USD, and it also probably on an IMDb 10-star sliding scale, it probably equates to like a 0.3. I think I actually gave it like a 0 now because I've had a lot of talking about it, and it's a thoroughly disgusting.
You would give it a
blockbuster
0.
film.
A
You would
0.
not give it the 0.3?
You,
I
th-
would.
wait. Think about some of the lines, Nick Cage lines. I
Think
think
about it
that gives
never
it a
rains,
point
it
three.
pours.
It never rains, it pours.
Let's see.
Unicorn.
Okay, well, so I'm keeping the percentage points like in the hundreds. So maybe, or is that the wrong way of saying
No, that's
that?
fine. That's fine.
So
fine.
so maybe it would be like 0.0 .293.
Point
All right.
zero two nine three.
0.0293.
Okay.
So that leaves us with an average score for 2000's Gone in 60 Seconds. It has a rating of 1.657325. That is our
recommend.
combined score.
And the,
All right.
the consensus is that the film is a gross blockbuster that only
Correct.
enables and deepens the racial separation in this country by stereotyping, marginalizing, and brutalizing not only minorities and people
Minority
of color,
groups,
but
but also
also
women.
women. And it's incredibly misogynistic and bigoted, and people are just objects. That's the main lesson here.
Yes.
But you
All
get
right.
some amazing lines.
But you do get to hear,
You
it
get
doesn't
to-
rain, it pours.
Any hit picks or nitpicks to end the podcast with.
Dude, that's the whole thing.
I
Is a
don't-
nitpick. The whole
yeah.
thing sucked, dude. Like the only reason it almost got a 3 was just because of bad shit that was good instead of the bad shit that was bad. So
I have one hit pick and one nitpick.
let's hear it.
Yeah.
My one hit pick is when Mirror Man and Sphinx are stealing the Hummer that has Snake as the license plate. Mirror Man says Snake is going to have to slither his way all the way down to the bus stop in the morning.
So goddamn. Stupid.
I forgot
I
you
like
said
that.
that. That
I
was
like that
really
one.
good. That was
All right,
really
let's
good.
hear your nitpick.
And then my nitpick is when Castlebeck enters the first crime scene at the very beginning of the movie, and he says, "Impound all these cars for a month. I don't give a damn if they belong to Tom Cruise." And what I thought was, this is basically them saying, "Damn, I wish we got Tom Cruise instead."
Yeah, they probably asked him. They probably asked him, and he said no.
That's amazing.
All right.
All right,
But-
I have
All
no
right,
more
you want to
nitpicks.
wrap us up?
Jamie, you have anything else to say?
Well, I was going to say that we also forgot the entire plot line with the black light, but it doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
No, it
Wow.
absolutely
matter.
doesn't. It
It just
added
occurred to
nothing
me
to
now.
the movie.
Nothing.
They only
So-
had the black light for the mattress stains, anyways. So
Which, of course, this was a stain-inducing snooze fest. And
that's the tagline.
this thing won 2 stinkers and was nominated for an extra. So, and that's just saying, like, that we don't know about the rest of the nominations.
Of course.
With that being said, with all of this being taken into account, my hit pick, and I always usually like to do like negatives first and positives last, so we end on a high note, but I refuse with this movie. So my hit pick is that I honestly found Nick Cage to be incredibly funny in this movie.
Oh, he made this movie way more enjoyable. For
Yes,
sure.
if it wasn't him, I don't know if this movie would be even watchable.
But not for
I-
his good acting.
No.
No.
Just makes it-
But because Nick Cage is so authentically Nick Cage in this movie, and
Yes.
he seems to simultaneously know that he is Nick Cage, but he's also not.
and forget at the same time.
And forget at the same time. See, Nick Cage is a paradox, and for me, this movie is a movie worth even mentioning at all because Nick Cage is in it. And I know I'm in the minority here saying that I love Nick Cage, but I do love Nick Cage. And
He definitely helped this movie. I will agree with that.
Yes. So his performance was enjoyable. It wasn't good. I just was able to not turn it off. And that's fine enough for me to call it a hit. So my nit is pretty much all of it.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
fine.
Yeah.
Everything else.
I mean,
I don't
everything that we
I don't
covered.
know, like, I don't understand why this was a reboot.
Why it
I
needed to happen.
don't,
I don't
know why they Americanized it if it wasn't about an American audience in the first place. I don't know why they made the small changes that they made, because what's the difference between 48 cars and 50 cars? I don't
50
know.
sounds crazy.
Because 50 is insane. I mean, it's half of 100. Are you kidding me?
They rounded it up to a safe 50.
It is a blatantly disgusting film that truly does not even know how disgusting it's being. It's just facilitating the worst behavior that we have as a society, and it normalizes it in such a weird fashion. And I think the thing that makes me most disgusted with it, and I use disgusted very intentionally, and I use it because it not only makes these racial jokes and these, sexual comments on, women, it doesn't just force them into a box. It makes it their life, and it makes it okay for that to be their life, but it also makes it seem like she's not suffering, which sucks. And then the minority characters are not only criticized and galvanized, but they're also forced to act it out themselves.
Yeah.
Which is worse.
Yeah.
It's not like a white guy just talking shit about black people and
it
Mexicans
sucks
or
for
whatever.
those
It's like
actual actors because they know that they're portraying this trope and this like stereotype.
But they're trying to get jobs, so they take the job
I would
anyway.
say that isn't a nitpick. That's like just an actual flaw of the entire movie.
Yeah.
Right, and I guess maybe I don't entirely understand what a nitpick would be if it's not.
It's like a small thing.
flaw.
It's like a small thing.
Okay. So if we're going small, I would say I really, really hate the fact that Khaleesi did fall through the ceiling into the coffin and built
Yeah, it's a little bit on the nose, right?
That was incredibly on the nose and also really fucking stupid.
All right. Anything else? Closing words? Everything good?
Did you two give your nitpicks? And
We said the whole movie was a nitpick, and I don't have any other hitpicks other than it rains and pours and his yes when he had 48.
When he landed it.
I would say one more nitpick is the jazz hand fingers when they play. I found that entire scene to be thoroughly
very Nick Cage. That was very Nick Cage of him to do.
Just everybody in there, even Robert Duvall being like, "Hey, shut the fuck up."
Shut the fuck up.
It's Lowrider. It's Lowrider, okay? Get your fucking head around that. So, other than that, I'm good. This was a thoroughly entertaining experience.
Well, thank you for coming on, Jamie.
Thank you.
That was insane.
Very great. It was very nice.
So we don't have a hidden section this week because I already said it for last week. My choice because it is the 4-hour Zack Snyder Justice League cut.
Yeah.
What?
A 4-hour Justice League.
Yeah, I'm making these two guys watch it and do it. So if you, the listener, want to join with us, I think a lot of people have actually already seen it, but if you haven't, we're going to be doing that next week. And thank you again, Jamie, for coming on.
Thank you, Jamie.
It's not just us that you're making us go through this. You're making the audience go through this as well. I want you
They
to
don't
know.
have to watch it.
I want you to know that you're not just punishing us for no reason, but you're punishing the viewers. The fine viewers of our podcast.
You are a truly terrible show.
Anyway, thank you again, Jamie.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really
again,
excited to
yes.
see you guys. I love this opportunity. And also, I'm very kind of flattered and also totally mortified with my own self for being on the show and making this episode not only 4 hours long, but also, making you guys watch this movie at all.
I promise you that it will be better than 4 hours of the Snyder Cut.
That's probably true.
That is true. And
All right.
Eden is a weenie.
All right, Luke, roll us out.
And that was tonight's watch.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. It never rains.
Bye.
It never rains and pours.
It never rains.